Chapter 467. Sweeping God's Domain. Aside from establishing a guild residence, Overwhelming Smile has also recruited a team of experts. These experts have been ambushing our teams and killing many of our members. Some of our Tier 1 members have encountered them before, and although they were no match for our members in a one-on-one battle, those experts are well trained and coordinate with each other flawlessly. With 3 people working together, they can finish off one of our Tier 1 members quickly. We estimate that Overwhelming Smile has over 100 of these experts and has scattered them across various leveling areas. They randomly appear and kill our members who are questing or leveling, causing us tremendous losses. Although we have invested a lot of time and manpower into hunting these experts down, we have come up with nothing. Aqua Rose ground her teeth with frustration as she spoke about Overwhelming Smile's mysterious experts, and she wanted to hunt them down and end them personally. Thanks to these experts, Zero Wing had lost an additional 2,000 or so members in just one day. Ever since Zero Wing had declared war on Overwhelming Smile, the guild had only suffered around 6,000 deaths. This little group of experts had caused over 2,000 of those deaths. Moreover, they had caused so much damage in one day. Aside from the lost equipment and levels, the compensation costs wounded the guild's finances. If this situation repeated itself every day, the several hundred gold the guild had accumulated through guild quests would only last a few more days before it dwindled to nothing. This means that Overwhelming Smile is finally getting serious. Frowning, Xueqi said, "Since they wish to send experts to ambush us, we have no need to hold back. Have Fire Dance and the others eliminate them. However, scatter the group to separate locations. We'll hold off on the team dungeon for now. As for our regular guild members, have them form teams to grind in the fields from now on." "Okay, I'll notify Fire Dance and the others immediately." Saying so, Aqua Rose disconnected the call. She then contacted Fire Dance and Zero Wing's other top combatants. Meanwhile, Xueqi halted his work in the forge. After tidying up, he left the forging room and hurried to the bank. Xueqi had never expected Overwhelming Smile to possess such a card. This situation certainly surpassed Xueqi's initial estimation of his enemy. Fortunately, Zero Wing had far more experts than Overwhelming Smile. In particular, Zero Wing possessed an absolute advantage when it came to Tier 1 players, as Overwhelming Smile still did not have a single Tier 1 player. All this time, Zero Wing's experts had split into 2 batches and took turns slaughtering Overwhelming Smile's members. This way, not only could they make Overwhelming Smile suffer, but they also wouldn't significantly hinder their own development. Now that over 100 experts had suddenly appeared in Overwhelming Smile, Xueqi would not let them run free. Moreover, the fact that Overwhelming Smile now possessed their own guild residence was bad news for Zero Wing. Originally, Zero Wing had only attracted so many new players to the guild due to their guild residence. The benefits a guild residence offered persuaded the guild members to ignore Overwhelming Smile's high offers and continue their development with Zero Wing. Now, however, Zero Wing's members would be tempted to join Overwhelming Smile as the benefits they could obtain there were not inferior in the slightest. However, gold coins were still what was most important. Originally, Overwhelming Smile was only wealthy in terms of credits. To Xueqi, the guild was no threat at all. After all, many of the items in God's domain could only be purchased with coins. Even if one had an endless supply of credits, the number of coins they could buy was limited. Furthermore, Overwhelming Smile was not the only guild in God's domain purchasing coins in bulk, further limiting what was available. In an all-out war between guilds, coins were the most consumed resource. There was the cost of purchasing and repairing equipment to consider, in addition to compensating guild members. Battles between players placed a massive burden on equipment durability. Take Xueqi's battles for example. A single strike from his sword could scrap bronze equipment. Only mysterious iron equipment could withstand his attack, and even then, it would only last a few extra hits. Even if the equipment was not destroyed, even elite players would cough blood with shock at the repair fee to recover the item. Although equipment could be purchased from the virtual trade center and compensation could be paid out using credits, the system controlled equipment repair fees, and it did not acknowledge credits. A single player's repair fee was not much, costing around 2 silver coins. The repair fee for 10,000 players, however, would be at least 200 gold coins, a very frightening amount. Not to mention, the higher quality equipment a player wore, the higher their repair fee would be. Although the repair fees were not the guild's responsibility, But the players, how many times could a player afford to repair their equipment in a long war? Once players ran out of money, how could they continue to involve themselves in the war if their equipment was close to breaking? Unless they decided to risk themselves without weapons and armor. In the early stages of the war, the guild members would accept credits as compensation and reward. However, after some time, they would need to purchase coins with the credits they received. Hence, coins were the true foundation of wars in God's domain. Meanwhile, a guild residence was a guild's main source of income for coins during the early stages of God's domain. If overwhelming smile included coins in their frightening financial power, it would create a terrifying combination. Xueqi could not afford to continue focusing on plots to earn money. He needed to take action. After returning the Philosopher's Stone to his warehouse, Xueqi used the 7 Luminaries gemstone and teleported to Blackwing City, taking the dragon scale sets with him. At present, Blackwing City had become a gathering place for players from kingdoms and empires all over God's domain. Compared to Xueqi's previous visits to the city, the player population had grown significantly. Moreover, there was an important difference between the players in Blackwing City and the players in other cities. Wealth. The players in Blackwing City were extremely wealthy. Moreover, the money these players possessed did not only involve credits, but also included gold coins. A majority of the players in Blackwing City were the upper management personnel of various large guilds, and they had come to Blackwing City specifically to do business. Hence, the amount of credits and coins they had on hand far surpassed anything that an ordinary player possessed. Blackwing City was truly the gathering place for tycoons. This was also why Xueqi had come to this place today. Xueqi had no intentions of selling the dragon scale set equipment for credits. His goal was to earn gold coins. If he sold the dragon scale set equipment in Star Moon Kingdom's auction houses or at the Starstreak trading firm, he would not get a good price. In addition, unlike the players in Blackwing City who would spend several gold coins without even blinking, players who could afford such large expenditures were few and far between in Star Moon Kingdom. After arriving at Blackwing City, Xueqi searched for a secluded location. He then used the demon mask to don a false identity. Unlike his previous visit when he tried to keep a low profile, Xueqi changed his appearance to that of a very handsome youth. He had even slightly altered the appearance of the Dragon Claw set equipment he wore, making it look more imposing. He also chose not to hide the special glowing effect of the Dragon Claw set equipment, revealing the telltale light of dark gold equipment. When he reached the streets, the dark gold rank glowing effect that enveloped his body nearly blinded other players. Damn! My eyes aren't playing tricks on me, right? That's a dark gold set equipment. Impossible! It looks awesome. Our guild doesn't even possess a set of fine gold set equipment. Just who is he? Xueqi dominated the attention of the players wandering the streets, their eyes nearly popping out of their sockets as they stared at him in a daze. They were all upper managers of various large guilds, so their knowledge of the game was extensive. Even if they saw a player wearing fine gold set equipment, they would not reveal such exaggerated reactions. At most, they would briefly admire that player's equipment. A dark gold set equipment, however, shattered their understanding of the game. Chapter 468. Ninth Heaven Pavilion. In just a short moment, news about Xueqi's sudden appearance had spread throughout Blackwing City. Have you heard? There's a player wearing a full dark gold set equipment. Heard about it? I saw that player with my own eyes. You don't know just how imposing he looked. He was like a ferocious tiger. He had only glanced at me, and my entire body trembled. Ah, a dark gold set equipment. It would be awesome to wear one. Don't even think about it. The various guilds throughout God's domain can't even obtain a fine gold set equipment, let alone dark gold. With a dark gold set equipment, PvP and dungeon raiding would be child's play. If an expert wears the set, they will become practically invincible. Do you think that person will sell his dark gold set equipment? Sell? Are you insane? Do you even know the significance of a dark gold set equipment? A dark gold set equipment is the best equipment currently available in God's domain by far. This set could even become the symbol of a guild, attracting countless players to join. On top of that, the rise in combat power the set provides would make grinding and dungeon raiding far easier. It would play a huge role in one's future development. If it were up to me, I would rather sell my house than sell my dark gold set equipment. I guess you're right. If purchased with credits, a dark gold set equipment should be worth at least 2 million. Including its ability to increase a guild's influence, it is worth more than a single house located in the city center. The players occupying the streets and alleys of Blackwing City discussed Xueqi. They envied and admired his dark gold set equipment. Before, many of them had dreamed of equipping a fine gold set equipment themselves. Yet, now, someone actually wore a dark gold set equipment. No, to be precise, someone ran around Blackwing City while wearing a house. While players talked about Xueqi, the various guild representatives in Blackwing City overworked themselves as they followed Xueqi while reporting back to their respective guilds. Currently, they no longer had the serenity befitting an upper manager of a guild as their anxiety was on full display. This has worked out quite well. Xueqi revealed a faint smile as he glanced at the various guild representatives behind him. Although he was in Blackwing City, it would not be so easy to sell out of the dragon scale set equipment quickly. Soon, Xueqi found a high-class restaurant and rested for a moment. Before Xueqi could get comfortable, a few players abruptly sat across from him. These players were all level 25 and above, and their equipment was at least secret silver rank. One could easily tell that these were not ordinary players. They would be the center of attention on the streets of any other city. However, they could not compete with Xueqi. Xueqi's dark gold set equipment was as dazzling as the sun, and one would find it difficult not to notice. What business do you have with me? Xueqi spoke softly as glanced up at these players. These players felt their chests tighten under Xueqi's pinning gaze, and their opinions of the player before them rose. Friend, please don't misunderstand us. This humble one is called Xueqi. We noticed your extraordinary bearing, and that you wear a full dark gold set equipment, so there is certainly no need to discuss your strength. We have also noticed that you are an independent player. We few are the representatives of major guilds, and we want to extend invitations to our guilds. The one who spoke was an elegant middle-aged man with a thin figure. On his chest, the man wore the guild emblem of a super guild, the Ninth Heaven Pavilion. Compared to the other representatives before Xueqi, it was obvious that the power supporting Xueqi was far more extensive. If first-rate guilds were the princes and princesses of the virtual gaming world, then super guilds were emperors and empresses. Whether regarding financial powers, influence, or history of super guilds, first-rate guilds could not compare to any of them. In God's domain, a first-rate guild was capable of controlling the majority of a kingdom's territory. A super guild, however, possessed the capacity to control one or two empires' territories. One could just imagine how massive the gap was between the two. Meanwhile, Ninth Heaven Pavilion was a rather ancient super guild. Before the appearance of God's domain, they had been the overlords of several dozen large-scale virtual reality games. They had long since created a gigantic virtual empire for themselves. However, due to the appearance of God's domain, many virtual reality games had lost their markets. Thus, the Ninth Heaven Pavilion focused their investments on God's domain. Meanwhile, the fact that the middle-aged man before Xueqi was the guild representative of the Ninth Heaven Pavilion spoke volumes of his abilities. I'm waiting for someone. I also have no interest in joining any guild, so please leave. Xueqi expressed his impatience, going so far as to reveal a trace of killing intent. Xueqi's strength allowed him to face a lord as an equal. After going berserk, he could even overwhelm a lord-ranked monster. After living in God's domain for a time, players' intuitions had improved somewhat. Even ordinary players could vaguely sense things such as killing intent, let alone elites and expert players. If Xueqi casually released a little killing intent, he could inflict a suffocating fear onto an ordinary player. The feeling was more intense for elites and experts who could sense killing intent with more clarity. So strong. Xueqi was inwardly shocked. Although Xueqi had not taken any action, he could feel how powerful Xueqi was. The swordsman before him was definitely not an ordinary expert, and he was someone who could rival even the top powerhouses in the Ninth Heaven Pavilion. If factoring in his equipment, the top powerhouses of the Ninth Heaven Pavilion might not even be a match for Xueqi in a one-on-one fight. However, this revelation had only served to excite Xueqi further. Friend, if you are not willing to join, why don't we become friends? Xueqi did not mind Xueqi's killing intent at all. Smiling, he said, with such strength, I believe that you must have a lot of weapons and equipment that you do not need. I am willing to purchase your items 20% higher than market value. How about it? The other representatives had nodded in agreement, though they were not as calm and carefree as Swallow 9. They had never thought, even for a second, that Xueqi would join their guilds. Experts of this level normally had quirky personalities and would never submit. Meanwhile, joining a guild meant accepting someone else's control. Xueqi would not agree to such an invitation. However, seeing that Xueqi was an expert capable of possessing a dark gold set equipment, he should have many other top-tier weapons and equipment. Even if Xueqi did not possess an extra dark gold set equipment, at the very least, he should have a stock of dark gold or fine gold ranked items. Such items were extremely difficult to purchase. It was common knowledge that top-tier equipment could not be bought from the market. Even top-tier workshops would keep such equipment for themselves. They definitely would not sell it. If one wished to obtain such equipment, they could only rely on themselves. However, it was easier said than done. Now that they had encountered such a rare opportunity, naturally, they could not let it get away. You wish to buy my items? Xueqi laughed. With disdain he then said, do you think you can afford them? If you have something to sell, regardless of how many items there are, I, Swallow 9, guarantee that I will purchase all of them at 20% above market value. If you have top-tier equipment, I will purchase it at 50% above market value, Swallow 9 confidently declared. Right. Our guilds have no issues doing the same. The other representatives promptly voiced their agreement. Although their guilds could not compare to the Ninth Heaven Pavilion, they were still major guilds. They had more than enough money to purchase a single expert's extra equipment. Ha ha ha. Interesting. Interesting. Xueqi suddenly laughed. However, Xueqi's actions only made Swallow 9 and the others turn to look at each other. 1,000 gold. If you have 1,000 gold on your persons right now, I will consider letting you look at the equipment I no longer need. Otherwise, scram. Find someone else to disturb. Chapter 469. Gathering of the Powerful. Xueqi was very loud, and every player on the second floor of the restaurant had heard his words loud and clear. 1,000 gold. Many of the guild representatives in the restaurant with similar ideas as Swallow 9 immediately sucked in a cold breath. To any guild in God's domain, 1,000 gold was not a small sum. Super guilds were no exception. Guilds supported a majority of the layers in Blackwing City. Although they were all very rich, their maximum trade volumes would not exceed 100 gold. Meanwhile, Xueqi casually demanded a price of 1,000 gold. Moreover, this was only the bottom line. If they did not have 1,000 gold in their bags, he wouldn't even consider a trade. How arrogant! He was simply too arrogant. However, despite Xueqi's arrogance, not a single person present had chosen to turn around and leave. On the contrary, they promptly contacted their respective guilds, ordering the preparation of 1,000 gold. 1,000 gold. You're insane. Do you know the significance of 1,000 gold at this stage of the game? What? That expert in the dark gold set equipment stated that he would only consider a trade with someone possessing 1,000 gold? The various guilds were shocked upon receiving this news. However, that shock soon turned into rage, as these guilds felt that Xueqi was only toying with them. 1,000 gold. Currently, gold coins were still scarce. Although the prices of coins had decreased significantly, even 10 million credits was not enough to purchase 1,000 gold. Moreover, not even a dark gold set equipment was worth 1,000 gold. What? Don't have it? Xueqi smirked at Swallow 9 and the others. Impatiently he said, since you don't have it, please leave. Stop disturbing my peace. No, please wait a moment. It is true that I do not have that much money on me right now. However, someone will send the money over quickly, Swallow 9 said as he calmed his pounding heart. He had to admit that Xueqi had given him a fright. However, the more arrogantly Xueqi behaved, the more Swallow 9 believed that Xueqi had something valuable to offer. Experts of this level had very high self-esteem, and an arrogant attitude was normal. However, one thing was certain. Such experts would not fabricate false rumors. If Xueqi dared to make such ridiculous statements, then he definitely had the capital to do so. Although Swallow 9 did not know what that capital was, he knew that it would not be insignificant. TCH truly annoying. Xueqi frowned at Swallow 9's words. Paying no more attention to the middle-aged man, Xueqi called up the official forums and began to browse. Everything was going according to plan. Moreover, shortly after he had stated his price of 1,000 gold, a post about him had set the official forums of God's domain on fire. There was even a post mentioning the 1,000 gold trade qualification he had demanded. Many people had begun to discuss the situation. They all felt that Xueqi was a lunatic and was too arrogant. Some had even begun to doubt his equipment. Quickly, this news had attracted the attention of even more guilds. After a dozen minutes or so, the restaurant Xueqi occupied exploded with activity. Players filled the restaurant, and every one of them represented a guild. The majority of the guilds present were first-rate guilds, with the lowest being second-rate guilds. 2 additional super guilds had even arrived. One of the new super guilds to arrive was Sanctuary, while the other was King's Return. These 2 super guilds were powerhouses similar to the Ninth Heaven Pavilion. Currently, the representatives of so many famous guilds, including 3 super guilds, had gathered in this one high-class restaurant. This was something that had never happened in the past. And all of this was due to the sudden appearance of a mysterious expert. Of the 3 super guild representatives, 2 were men, and the last was a woman. Among them, Swallow 9 represented the Ninth Heaven Pavilion, a polished woman named Flourishing Colors represented Sanctuary, and King's Return was represented by a crude and brawny-looking man named Thunder Tiger. Flourishing Colors was a level 26 summoner, whereas Thunder Tiger was a level 26 berserker. It was clear that the 3 super guild representatives knew each other. As the moment the 3 met, they began to chat as if they were old friends. Xueqi glanced at the second floor, discovering that the high-class restaurant seemed to represent God's domain's current power. As Swallow 9, Flourishing Colors, and Thunder Tiger were representatives of super guilds, the 3 sat opposite of Xueqi. As for the representatives of first-rate guilds, they hovered nearby. As for the few second-rate guilds, they sat near the staircase. The hierarchy had been clearly established. The 3 belonging to super guilds paid no attention to those belonging to first-rate guilds, and those belonging to first-rate guilds paid no attention to the second-rate guilds. The representatives present only spoke to those on the same level as themselves. If Zero Wing attended this gathering, its representative would most likely have to stand at the restaurant's entrance. After half an hour, Swallow 9 finally spoke. "I've put together my 1,000 gold. Please take a look," Swallow 9 said as he smiled at Xueqi. He then placed his coin pouch on the table. Although the coin pouch was only the size of a fist, this was only an illusion. Regardless of how much money it contained, the coin pouch would retain the same size. Moreover, a player's coin pouch was bound to them, and nobody could steal it. However, others could still check the amount inside with the owner's permission. Brother Expert said that one would qualify to trade with you so long as they have 1,000 gold. I happen to have 1,000 gold with me. Please check it for yourself, Brother Expert. Thunder Tiger similarly placed a coin pouch on the table. I have the same. Flourishing Colors smiled faintly as she, too, revealed her coin pouch. For a time, the various guild representatives on the second floor promptly presented their coin pouches to Xueqi, allowing him to inspect them. As the crowd waited for Xueqi's inspection, instead of actually doing so, Xueqi smiled and said, "That won't be necessary. I believe that the guilds present should not be so poor as to not even possess 1,000 gold. Since all of you have 1,000 gold on your persons now, you all qualify to trade with me. However, the items I wish to sell are limited. Since there are so many people here, I'm sure none of you will oppose an auction, right?" Suddenly, the crowd understood Xueqi's intentions. This was a public auction. If so, the items would definitely be sold far above market value. Realizing the truth of the matter, everyone's expressions darkened. Of course, you can also choose not to buy my items. I won't force those who are unwilling. Xueqi yawned. Slowly he said, "If anyone is not interested, you are welcome to leave." Yet, even after Xueqi's declaration, not a single representative turned to leave. They all wanted to see the reason behind Xueqi's confidence. "Since everyone agrees, I'll begin with the first item, then," Xueqi said as he swept a glance over the crowd in the hall, nodding with satisfaction. Everything was going according to plan. What happened next would depend on how these people would compete. Hearing Xueqi begin the auction, the crowd grew tense. Even Swallow 9, Thunder Tiger, and Flourishing Colors, the representatives of 3 super guilds, focused on Shifeng's every move. In the next moment, Shifeng took out a piece of equipment from his bag. Looking at the glow of the equipment, it seemed to be fine gold rank, not dark gold rank as everyone had expected. Even so, fine gold equipment was quite valuable. Currently, fine gold equipment was very rare. Although some were available on the virtual trade center, most of those items had inferior attributes. Initially, everyone had thought Shifeng would state the starting bid for the equipment, signaling the representatives to begin. However, Shifeng proceeded by revealing another piece of equipment. Moreover, this item was also fine gold ranked. 1 piece, 2 pieces, 3 pieces. Shifeng displayed a total of 6 pieces of equipment. Moreover, although these 6 pieces were all different, they possessed a single style. That is, a fine gold set equipment. The crowd was stupefied when they saw the dragon scale set equipment on the table. They even wondered if their eyes played tricks on them. Though large guilds had several pieces of dark gold equipment, not even the super guilds possessed a fine gold set equipment. Yet, an unknown expert like Shifeng had one. Chapter 470. Strong Appearance. Both the appearance and attributes of the dragon scale set equipment were far more powerful than ordinary fine gold equipment. Furthermore, one had to consider the set effects. When Shifeng placed the dragon scale set equipment on the table, he did not hide the set's attributes, allowing everyone to examine the set. These are the set effects of a fine gold set equipment. The effects of this dragon scale set are insane. It could rival the effects of that rumored Warfire set. I've seen the effects of the Warfire set before. Warfire is more suited for PvP, while this dragon scale is suited for dungeon raiding. It is what guilds need most right now. The crowd was dumbfounded after reading the dragon scale set equipment's information. Aside from how important the ignore levels effect was to players right now, the fury effect alone could raise their damage to a whole new level. There were also the strength and agility attribute increases, both of which were the most important attributes to any physical class. Overall, every set effect of the dragon scale set was very useful to a physical class. If equipped, a player's combat power would instantly rise by 2 or 3 levels. It was frightening. You've seen the equipment for yourselves. The bidding will start at 100 gold, with a minimum bid increment of 1 gold. Shifeng chuckled. He then announced, "You may begin." Before the crowd could recover from their shock, Shifeng's opening price stunned them once more. The market offer for the Warfire set equipment was also 100 gold, and the set could be upgraded to fine gold rank. Moreover, the set's level would increase with the players, and it could become a level 30 fine gold set equipment. The dragon scale set equipment was only a level 20 fine gold set equipment. The opening bid was simply too expensive. If the set were a level 25 fine gold set equipment, it might be worth 100 gold. What? Nobody's bidding? Shifeng watched the silent crowd. Leisurely he said, "Since nobody wants to buy it, then our trade comes to an end. We don't have anything to talk about, so let's dismiss this issue." Even after Shifeng said this, the various guild representatives stood as still as stone, showing no intentions of leaving. Right now, they were like a pack of hungry wolves that had meat placed before them. How could they leave without a bite? "Brother expert, your price is somewhat high. If it were the set you wear right now, I would pay double." "That's right. I'm willing to buy the dragon scale set equipment at 60 gold. The guild representatives voiced their opinions, expressing their refusal of the high price of the dragon scale set equipment and imploring Shifeng to lower the price. After all, gold coins were not easy to come by. Now that every guild purchased coins in bulk, it had resulted in an abnormal shortage of coins. Currently, most of the guilds in God's domain relied on their money farming teams to supply them with coins. "Don't buy it if you think it is too expensive. I don't need to sell my equipment to you specifically," Shifeng said disdainfully. Shifeng knew exactly what these representatives were trying to do. At this moment, however, a crisp voice echoed throughout the restaurant's second floor. 100 gold. I want it." Immediately, everyone's attention shifted towards the person who placed the bid, discovering a bright and attractive beauty. Moreover, the majority of the equipment this beauty wore was fine gold rank, and the staff strapped to her back even emitted the glow unique to dark gold items. Isn't she Aqua Rose of Twilight Echo? I seem to recall Aqua Rose having left Twilight Echo. I believe she joined a small unknown guild. Her actions had caused quite the commotion. That's right. I remember it as well. Many guilds had tried to recruit her. Unfortunately, she rejected all of the offers, insisting on joining a small guild instead. At that time, many had sighed at her choice. How could she possibly achieve anything in a small guild? Twilight Echo even expressed that, as long as Aqua Rose acknowledged her mistakes, they would gladly welcome her back. Unfortunately, she refused. After not hearing anything about her for so long, I thought she had quit God's domain. It is somewhat unfortunate. However, based on her current appearance, it seems that she is getting by quite well. She even wields a dark gold weapon. No matter what was said or done, Aqua Rose is very talented and powerful. With the nurturing of a small guild and some luck, it isn't exactly impossible to obtain level 20 fine gold and dark gold equipment. However, she probably won't grow beyond that. After all, a small guild is still a small guild. The crowd instantly fell into a discussion about Aqua Rose. She was quite famous in the virtual gaming world, and like the snow goddess, she had been nicknamed the Rose Goddess. Naturally, the guild representatives recognized her. The crowd's attention turned from Aqua Rose, shifting towards Twilight Echo's representative. Twilight Echo's representative, Brilliant War God, had also noticed Aqua Rose's appearance. He was visibly delighted. It was especially true when he heard everyone's evaluation of the woman. Ever since he had suffered defeat at Shifeng's hands, due to the punishment from the system, his leveling speed had slowed to a crawl. Even when he accompanied others, he could not level any faster. Having no other choice, he chose to act as the guild's representative and mingled in Blackwing City. He hated Xueqi fiercely for placing him in his current situation. Previously, he had allowed Aqua Rose to leave Twilight Echo with ulterior motives. He wanted to teach Aqua Rose that she was nothing without Twilight Echo, and in the end, she would beg to return to the guild. However, upon seeing Aqua Rose's equipment and level, Brilliant Wargod's expression sank, disappointed. Keep up your pretenses. I want to see just how long you can keep up the act. Brilliant Wargod had paid close attention to Zero Wing, so he knew that Zero Wing was currently engaged in an all-out war against Overwhelming Smile. Others might not know Overwhelming Smile's backer, but he did. A tiny guild like Zero Wing would only last a few more days. Alright, 100 gold going once. 100 gold going twice. Xueqi did not care whether the crowd paid attention to Twilight Echo's representative or not. He just smiled faintly as he confirmed the bid. Immediately, his words shook everyone back to their senses, and the representatives promptly started shouting their own bids. 101 gold. 103 gold. 108 gold. The dragon scale set equipment that nobody wanted had suddenly risen to a price of 132 gold. What had happened to 100 gold is too expensive? Their complaints had been nothing more than nonsense. After all, this was a level 20 fine gold set equipment that none of the guilds in God's domain possessed. Although the set was not particularly suitable for MTs, it still had better effects than the individual equipment pieces that their MTs currently wore. How could they possibly give up on it? When Thunder Tiger placed a bid of 132 gold, the crowd began to hesitate. 150 gold. Aqua Rose calmly rose the bid. The crowd turned to look at each other, shocked. Even to a large guild, 150 gold was not cheap. To a small guild, that should practically be all they had. Yet, Aqua Rose seemed not to care about the price at all. The representatives began to wonder what kind of guild supported Aqua Rose. 155 gold. Swallow 9 stated. 158 gold. Flourishing Colors began to bid as well. 150 gold was almost the limit a first-rate guild would willingly bid. Any more would be too expensive. However, the three super guilds did not care about this price. Just as the three super guilds began to compete with each other. 200 gold. Although Aqua Rose's voice was not particularly loud, her bid swept through the crowd like a chilling wave. Chapter 471. It is difficult to breed true dragons in shallow waters. 200 gold coins. The crowd immediately fell silent. Everyone turned to Aqua Rose, the rose goddess who had left the first-rate guild Twilight Echo. She's insane. Spending 200 gold coins just to garner some fame is foolish. Does the guild behind her really possess so much money that they can disregard 200 gold? Every representative had their own speculation. Some believed that Aqua Rose was trying to use the money to buy fame, while some believed that the guild supporting her possessed an extraordinary background. However, regardless of the reasons behind her actions, everyone's admiration for Aqua Rose grew. Every guild here could afford to spend 200 gold. After all, before Xueqi had started his auction, he had required that anyone who wanted to trade with him must first carry 1,000 gold on them. If not for the 1,000 gold in their bags, they would not be so shameless as to participate in the auction. Every guild in this restaurant was a reputable major power. If others discovered that they did not have 1,000 gold in their bags, it would tarnish their guild's reputation. However, although they had the money, they would not spend it on useless items. They would only buy that which had value to their guilds. After all, their members had struggled to earn every gold coin. Nobody wanted to be played for a fool. The 3 super guild representatives were also silent. They looked at Aqua Rose with curiosity, confused as to what the rose goddess was attempting to do. 200 gold going once. Xueqi watched the calm and composed Aqua Rose, silently praising her performance. He had to admit that Aqua Rose's confident smile even led him to believe that 200 gold was no different from spare change to her. 200 gold going twice. Just as Xueqi shouted the second time, Brilliant War God suddenly shouted, 201 gold. This young master wants it. 210 gold, Aqua Rose said as she glared at Brilliant War God, disgust and hatred filling her eyes. 211 gold, Brilliant War God sneered. Although he was not particularly interested in the dragon scale set equipment, he could not stomach letting Aqua Rose garner fame in front of this crowd. If that happened, it would wound his reputation. Hence, he could not allow Aqua Rose to have the dragon scale set equipment, allowing her to enjoy the limelight. 300 gold. Done wasting time, Aqua Rose significantly raised the bid. The other guild representatives were stunned. The 3 super guild representatives shook their heads helplessly. The price was simply too high. Previously, everyone had believed that Aqua Rose would never rise without the help of Twilight Echo. Yet, Aqua Rose's current performance was more domineering than during her time in Twilight Echo. She was no less imposing than Ouroboros's guild leader, the snow goddess Gentle Snow. They could not understand why Twilight Echo had discarded Aqua Rose. Brilliant Wargood's heart trembled upon hearing this bid. Gritting his teeth, he shouted, 301 gold. It had not been easy for the guild to raise the 1,000 gold he had on him right now, and part of the money had been taken from the funds set aside for Twilight Echo's guild residence. If he spent 300 gold here, it would undoubtedly delay the purchase of the guild residence by 1 or 2 days. 400 gold. Aqua Rose shouted without flinching. She then shot Brilliant War God a disdainful look. None of these representatives were fools. They could tell that, rather than purchasing an item, Brilliant War God and Aqua Rose currently competed via wealth. However, when they saw Aqua Rose's resolve as she called out a bid of 400 gold, they could not help but admire the rose goddess. Just what kind of financial power did she possess to ignore 400 gold? You! Seeing Aqua Rose's contemptuous glance, Brilliant War God had never felt such humiliation. Suddenly he gritted his teeth and shouted, Aqua Rose! Don't even think of taking what's mine. So what if you've bid 400 gold? I bid 500 gold. 500 gold going once. 500 gold going twice. As Xueqi announced the price, Brilliant Wargood's anxiety grew. He was deeply afraid that Aqua Rose would place an even higher bid. At that time, he would have to raise his bid even further. Only when Xueqi shouted the third time did Brilliant War God reveal a victorious smile. He then shifted his gaze towards Aqua Rose, smirking at the woman with pride. 500 gold, Xueqi said as he walked up to Brilliant War God, placing the dragon scale set equipment in front of the man. He did not care about whatever thoughts occupied Brilliant Wargood's mind. When the crowd watched Brilliant War God hand over 500 gold in exchange for the dragon scale set equipment, envy, admiration, and disdain filled their hearts. However, they admitted that the dragon scale set equipment was currently the only level 20 fine gold set equipment available in God's domain. Although it was somewhat foolish to spend 500 gold, once they had the dragon scale set equipment, the profits they could reap with it might exceed 500 gold. Thinking up to this point, the various guild representatives felt somewhat regretful. Why had they not competed over the set? What if they could gain far more than 500 gold with the use of this set? After obtaining the dragon scale set equipment, a sense of indescribable joy filled Brilliant Wargood's heart as he watched the silent Aqua Rose. However, before he could ridicule the woman, Xueqi suddenly spoke again. Let's begin the auction for the second item, then. The auctioned item is another dragon scale set equipment. Like before, the starting bid is 100 gold with minimum increments of 1 gold. Saying so, Xueqi placed another dragon scale set equipment on the table. How? Why do you have a second? Brilliant Wargod felt his heart shatter when he saw an exact copy of the dragon scale set equipment he had just purchased. Who said I only had one set? Xueqi rolled his eyes at Brilliant Wargod before proceeding with the auction. Brilliant Wargod's elation deflated. When he saw Aqua Rose's laughing expression, he even had the thought of killing himself. When the crowd saw the second dragon scale set equipment on the table, they all glanced at their fellow representatives. Nobody had expected Xueqi to have a second set. The regret that they had felt immediately vanished. They had somewhat admired Brilliant Wargod for spending 500 gold to purchase the first level 20 fine gold set equipment in God's domain. Now, however, that admiration turned into ridicule. 150 gold. I bid 155 gold. Previously, everyone had felt that 100 gold was too expensive. Now, however, multiple guilds simultaneously began the bid with 150 gold. However, just like before, Aqua Rose immediately dashed everyone's hopes by bidding 200 gold. This time, the 3 super guild representatives did not hesitate as they shouted higher bids. Items of rarity were expensive. It was especially true during the early stages of God's domain. Just a single piece of equipment could significantly affect the future development of a guild, not to mention a fine gold set equipment. In the end, Aqua Rose purchased the second dragon scale set equipment at 280 gold. The many guild representatives envied and admired her. Simultaneously, they also could not help but acknowledge that Aqua Rose was really amazing. Even after leaving Twilight Echo, she was still so well off. One could just imagine how capable she was. On the other hand, Twilight Echo had been so blind as to chase Aqua Rose out of the guild. As everyone admired Aqua Rose, interest in her guild also began to grow. It was difficult to breed a true dragon in shallow waters. Aqua Rose was undoubtedly a true dragon. No ordinary guild would be good enough to catch her eye. Soon, Xueqi took out the third dragon scale set equipment, rendering the crowd utterly speechless. They had even started to suspect that the dragon scale set equipment was some kind of common good that could be purchased anywhere. However, nobody complained. On the contrary, they all were elated because they had another chance to compete. Xueqi had never mentioned how many sets he had on hand. What if this one was the last? Hence, everyone gritted their teeth and placed their bids. In the end, Swallow 9 won the third set for 291 gold. Following which, Xueqi revealed the fourth set, which Sanctuary's Flourishing Colors won for 303 gold. Thunder Tiger of Kings Return won the fifth set for 322 gold, whereas a first-rate guild purchased the sixth set for 337 gold. Initially, everyone had believed that Xueqi would reveal the seventh set. In the end, however, Xueqi announced that the sixth was the last he had on him. This revelation had caused the crowd to regret not bidding higher. None of the guilds had cared much for obtaining a fine gold set equipment when no one else had owned one. However, now that some guilds had obtained one, things had changed. It was highly possible that due to the dragon scale set equipment, these guilds would take the lead in conquering level 20 large-scale team dungeons. At that time, these guilds would gain a massive advantage over the others. Chapter 472. Massive Profits. Rare items were expensive. Although Xueqi had over 100 copies of the dragon scale set equipment, if he wished to sell them at a good price, he could not sell too many at once. He needed to regulate the number of sets he sold. Currently, The 6 sets he had actioned would not sate these guilds' thirst. Even if he tripled or quadrupled that number, the price they were willing to pay would not decrease. However, Xueqi would not do so. 6 sets were the limit. If he sold any more, it would lead to everyone to believe that the dragon scale set equipment was easily obtainable. If he tried to sell it later, it would become impossible to get a good price. Although Xueqi had produced over 100 sets of dragon scale set equipment, they were not cheap to forge. Aside from the basic materials, each set piece required 10 starfire essences. One dragon scale set equipment cost more than 10 gold to produce. After factoring in the forging success rate, a single dragon scale set equipment cost 30 gold. If anyone else forged the set, it would cost them over 100 gold. Naturally, Xueqi could not sell the dragon scale set equipment for a low price. Despite Xueqi stating that he did not have another dragon scale set equipment on him, none of the various guild representatives believed him. Xueqi had been able to reveal 6 sets in a row. No matter how one looked at it, Xueqi must have found a special channel to obtain the dragon scale set equipment. Unfortunately, only he knew his source. However, they could do nothing if Xueqi insisted that he had run out of stock. Many of the representatives who had failed to purchase a set for themselves struggled with their reluctance to accept the situation. On the other hand, Aqua Rose's appearance had incited a heated discussion. The crowd was quite curious about the guild behind Aqua Rose. Even first-rate guilds like theirs had to hesitate before finally deciding to bid for the dragon scale set equipment, their hearts aching at the expense. The guild behind Aqua Rose, on the other hand, was actually willing to spend so much gold just to purchase a dragon scale set equipment. It was really surprising. After the auction concluded, Xueqi did not linger in the restaurant. Instead, he left and searched for a hotel to rest and change his appearance using the demon mask once again. Sure enough, there are quite a number of people following me. Xueqi glanced at the players inside the hotel's lobby. The moment he came downstairs, these players had promptly turned to look at him. No matter what was said or done, the dragon scale set equipment was a level 20 fine gold set equipment. The various guilds' desire for the dragon scale set equipment was self-evident. Even if he did not sell the set in bulk, it's difficult to avoid attracting attention. These guilds would naturally try to discover the origin of the dragon scale set equipment. If these guilds learned that the dragon scale set equipment originated from Zero Wing would become a target. It was already troublesome enough dealing with one overwhelming smile. If other first-rate guilds and super guilds joined the fray, Zero Wing would be cut off from its path of survival. Currently, unlike other guilds that branched out to various cities and kingdoms, Zero Wing developed itself solely in White River City. In general, the guild was only famous in Star Moon Kingdom. Outside of Star Moon Kingdom, it was simply another unknown guild. To these first-rate guilds and super guilds in Blackwing City, Zero Wing was not even a speck of dust. It was not worthy of their attention in the least. No lion recognized the ants beneath its feet. Xueqi could cope in White River City while facing one overwhelming smile. However, Zero Wing would end up in an extremely precarious situation should the many large guilds present move against it. This was also why Xueqi had called Aqua Rose. The first reason was to hike up the price of the dragon scale set equipment. The second was to avoid attracting these large guilds' suspicion when the set appeared in Zero Wing. You guys have fun waiting here then. Xueqi smiled faintly as he left the hotel. From the moment he entered the lobby to the moment he left, none of the trackers paid him any mind. After leaving the hotel, Xueqi immediately hailed a horse carriage and rode it to the Blackwing auction house. Other than holding the weekly large-scale auctions, the Blackwing auction house was also a hub for players to sell their items. However, the items sold here were only available through the Blackwing auction house. These items would not be available elsewhere. Although the sales scope was very narrow, Blackwing City's main role was to act as a trade hub. Guilds and players from various kingdoms and empires preferred to sell their items in the Blackwing auction house, as it was far more lucrative to sell them here than it was to use their respective auction houses. Upon his arrival at the Blackwing auction house, Xueqi placed 80 sets of the dragon scale set equipment up for sale without hesitation. He sold the sets in batches, selling only 2 or 3 sets at a time at intervals of around 1 hour. Meanwhile, the starting bid he set was 200 gold. After Xueqi finished his tasks, he left Blackwing City. However, shortly after Xueqi's departure, The Blackwing auction house exploded. It's actually the dragon scale set equipment. It can't be, right? Someone is actually selling the dragon scale set equipment on the auction house. The price is high. That person set the starting price at 200 gold. Players who frequented the Blackwing auction house drooled when they saw the dragon scale set equipment. Who knew how many items they had to sell to afford the price tag of this set equipment? News of the situation swiftly spread throughout Blackwing City. Previously, due to Xueqi auctioning the dragon scale set equipment, information regarding the set had long since flowed between the various large guilds. Moreover, the fact that the 3 super guilds had each purchased a dragon scale set equipment had placed a significant amount of pressure on the first-rate guilds, increasing their desire to own one for themselves. However, since Xueqi no longer sold the sets, they could only dream of owning one. Now that they had received news of more sets being available, they had to compete for them. For a time, the dragon scale set equipment's price increased rapidly. In a short moment, the bids had risen from 200 gold to 280 gold. In the end, the first 3 sets of dragon scale set equipment in the Blackwing auction house had sold for 316 gold, 324 gold, and 328 gold. In an instant, Xueqi had made a massive profit. However, Xueqi knew that this was only the beginning. The competition between the various large guilds was intense. It was of utmost importance to have a strong MT. Although the dragon scale set equipment was not particularly suitable for MTs, the set effects could increase an MT's strength significantly. This alone was enough to drive the large guilds crazy over the set. Hence, the price of the dragon scale set equipment would only increase from this point forward. Meanwhile, all of these gold coins secretly flowed into Xueqi's pockets with none the wiser. The speed at which he currently earned money far surpassed the Star Streak trading firm. However, this could not be helped. The Star Streak trading firm's scope of operations was limited to White River City and the few surrounding cities. Meanwhile, Blackwing City catered to players across all of God's domain. Even a dozen Star Streak trading firms could not compare to the Blackwing auction house. During Xueqi's visit to Blackwing City, Overwhelming Smile had not sat idle. The slightly over 100 mysterious experts had suddenly increased to more than 200. Although these mysterious experts had slaughtered Zero Wing's members, Zero Wing was no pushover, either. The guild's 50-plus Tier 1 experts had similarly caused a significant amount of trouble for Overwhelming Smile. The experts of both sides had suffered some losses. However, as Zero Wing had fewer members on their side, it began to fall behind. For a time, the level 20 maps around White River City had become the battlefield for the 2 guilds. This had frightened other players, and nobody dared go anywhere near these battlefields. In just a few hours, both sides had suffered over 1,000 deaths. The gold coins each guild had to spend was also shocking. Each guild would, most likely, have to spend over 500 gold a day. Is Overwhelming Smile aiming for a swift conclusion? Xueqi was confused, and he frowned deeply when he saw the death count of both guilds. Chapter 473. Black Dragon Phantom. Xueqi could not help but admire Overwhelming Smile's decisiveness. They had actually increased the number of well-trained open warfare experts they had to over 200. Even first-rate guilds would not dare station over 200 experts in a single city. Not even Star Moon City would receive such treatment. After all, there were over 100 cities in the entire Star Moon Kingdom. It was not wise to put all of one's eggs in one basket. Guild leader, should I have our members go to areas with fewer resources to level? If we continue this exchange with Overwhelming Smile, it will severely affect our guild's development rate, Aqua Rose inquired, worried. Originally, Aqua Rose had been very confident of defeating Overwhelming Smile. After all, Xueqi had earned quite a lot of money through the sales of the dragon scale set equipment. He had earned over 1,700 gold just from the auction in the restaurant. With so much gold on hand and the follow-up income, they could easily drown Overwhelming Smile in gold coins if they wanted to. However, Overwhelming Smile's current performance was too effective. How exactly had Overwhelming Smile managed to recruit so many experts? Overwhelming Smile gave them no room to breathe as its attacks became stronger with each consecutive wave. Although the experts on their side were more powerful, their opponents would flee whenever they encountered Zero Wing's Tier 1 players. Moreover, Overwhelming Smile had more experts on their side than Zero Wing. When comparing the number of players each side could kill, Zero Wing was outmatched. Sure enough, these mysterious experts are a big problem, Xueqi scowled. If he did not deal with this matter properly, Zero Wing would fall. At that point, money would be useless. However, experts that used hit-and-run tactics were also the most difficult opponents to face. This was why so many powerful solo players and independent teams had caused the various large guilds massive headaches in the past, to the point where the latter did not dare provoke the former. After all, when these powerful independent players were forced into a corner, they could simply turn to guerrilla warfare and ambush the guild's members. By the time the guild's experts arrived, these independent players would be long gone. Unless the guild's experts arrived at the scene as soon as the independent players took action, catching them in the fields was only a dream. Currently, although both Zero Wing and Overwhelming Smile employed these hit-and-run tactics, Overwhelming Smile's experts outnumbered Zero Wing's by 4-1. In the long term, Zero Wing would definitely burn out first. Appear immediately? That's right. Appear immediately. Xueqi suddenly received a flash of inspiration. Smiling faintly, he said, Aqua, notify the members out in the field to report their coordinates through the guild channel should they meet Overwhelming Smile's experts. I've already tried that. It's useless. Our men cannot arrive in time. Moreover, those experts are very sly. Even if we encounter them, they run the moment they see our reinforcements, Aqua Rose said, shaking her head. Give the order and leave the rest to me, Xueqi chuckled. Anyone else might be helpless in this situation. At most, he could join the hunting parties and slaughter Overwhelming Smile's members. How could he possibly be more efficient alone than Overwhelming Smile's large number of experts? However, he had the 7 luminaries ring. As long as his target was within 40,000 yards, he could easily arrive at the first sign of trouble. I understand. Although Aqua Rose was confused about Xueqi's intentions, since he had given the order, he must have his own countermeasures. Before, when she had worried over the lack of guild funds, Xueqi had suddenly revealed so many sets of dragon-scale set equipment. He had even converted them into a large amount of gold, utterly surprising her. Moreover, after her act of purchasing the dragon-scale set equipment and the display of her frightening wealth, several representatives of first-rate guilds had sought her out for cooperation and resource trading. Unknowingly, Zero Wing had obtained another channel for earning gold coins. Xueqi's single move had taken care of her worries in one fell swoop. He was godlike. Aqua Rose struggled to believe that someone like Xueqi had actually remained unknown all this time. It's about time I make Overwhelming Smile pay back some of its debt. Following which, Xueqi placed the remaining sets of the dragon-scale set equipment in the guild's warehouse. Of them, 2 were available for guild members. He then took out 1 level 25 fine gold weapon and 10 level 25 secret silver weapons. Although his current combat power was already quite high, like a lion pouncing on a hare, it was necessary to go all out even when fighting a small enemy or tackling a minor problem. Hence, Xueqi intended to upgrade the Abyssal Blade's level. He was currently level 26. He could upgrade the Abyssal Blade to level 25. However, every time he upgraded the Abyssal Blade, the weapon would create quite a commotion. Hence, Xueqi left White River City, teleporting to the Watch Cemetery. Due to war, the Watch Cemetery had become a land of death. Even the sky here remained dusky, and tombs crowded the cemetery. The majority of the monsters that appeared here were undead type, and although there were a lot of them, their HPs were relatively low. As it was a level 22 to level 28 map with an extremely abundant amount of resources, over a quarter of White River City's level 20+ players had come here to level up. The Watch Cemetery contained many treasure chests and hidden quests. However, the cemetery was most famous for its treasure chests. In the past, countless lucky independent players had encountered mysterious iron and even secret silver treasure chests here, obtaining plenty of top-tier equipment and items. Because of this, battles between players had frequently happened in the Watch Cemetery. Similarly, over half of the battles between Zero Wing and Overwhelming Smile occurred here. There sure are a lot of players who have died here. The moment Xueqi teleported to the Watch Cemetery, he was greeted by the sight of corpses littering the ground. The tragic scene could easily match the one in White Fog Canyon. This scene may have even been more tragic. After all, Usually only elite players visited the White Fog Canyon, whereas ordinary players had come to the Watch Cemetery. One could just imagine how intense the battle here had been. Nobody should be able to discover me here. Xueqi found a hidden underground tomb. After investigating his surroundings and failing to discover any nearby players, he unsheathed the Abyssal Blade. Devour. Xueqi lightly tapped the Abyssal Blade's Level Up button. After Xueqi selected a level 25 fine gold weapon and 10 level 25 secret silver weapons, the silvery gray Abyssal Blade suddenly released a black fog. Compared to the previous level-ups, the black fog was denser this time. The 11 sacrificial weapons instantly transformed into ash when they came into contact with this black fog. In the next moment, the power within these weapons flowed into the Abyssal Blade. Immediately, Xueqi felt the Abyssal Blade release a massive pulse. Rather than a pulse, it was more like a heartbeat. Underscore thump. Thump. Underscore. Each consecutive heartbeat grew clearer and more intense. In the next moment, the Abyssal Blade struggled free from Xueqi's hands, sending Xueqi flying into one of the walls of the tomb. What's happening? Xueqi watched the hovering Abyssal Blade, surprised. This was the first time he had encountered such a rejection. As the pulses grew more intense, the tomb began to tremble. Suddenly, a large boom resounded as the entire underground tomb collapsed and vanished, revealing the dark gray sky above. Soon after, the Abyssal Blade fragmented and transformed into a massive pitch-black heart. Along with the heartbeat, the phantom of a massive black dragon emerged. The black dragon was over a dozen meters tall, and its bone-chilling eyes focused on Xueqi. Suddenly, it spread its maw and released a thundering roar. Chapter 474. Abyssal Upgrade. The black dragon's roar shook the sky, loud enough that anyone nearby would notice it. What a powerful roar. A high-level monster must have spawned somewhere nearby. We'll be rich if it's a chieftain. Let's go and take a look. We can't let others snatch it from us. When a team of over 20 players a short distance from the tomb noticed the black dragon's roar, they finished off the monsters they currently faced and rushed over to the tomb. The Watch Cemetery was a land of treasures, and one could even discover a treasure chest by accidentally falling into a hole. However, powerful monsters were rare in the Watch Cemetery, and normally, these monsters lingered near treasures. This had already become a publicly acknowledged trend. This monster's roar alone was already so powerful. No one who heard it would risk missing this opportunity. At the same time, many other teams who had heard this frightening roar also ran towards the tomb and Xueqi. At the epicenter of the roar, however, one man and one dragon stared each other down. The dragon released a frightening aura, and the surrounding air had begun to stagnate. Is this the backlash? At this moment, Xueqi had heightened his 5 senses to their very limits, wearing a grim expression. All of his concentration was on the black dragon phantom before him. Although the black dragon was not the real thing, only a phantom, Xueqi proceeded with caution. Moreover, Xueqi had not reacted in such a way intentionally. His response had been an unconscious decision. The chilling killing intent in the phantom's gaze was so intense that Xueqi was breathless. He had never felt anything like this before, even against a great lord. Xueqi had never encountered the backlash of a magic weapon before. He had also never heard about what exactly occurred during a backlash. However, seeing that so many top-tier experts had fallen to it in the past, a magic weapon's backlash was no trivial matter. A single mistake and Xueqi might end up with a crippled character. This was also why every player had to consider their options carefully when they obtained a magic weapon. While Xueqi prepared to face a powerful enemy, the black dragon's phantom only pinned Xueqi with its crimson eyes. It had not attacked. You're not going to strike? Xueqi was slightly surprised. Although Xueqi had not taken any measures to deal with the Abyssal Blade's backlash, his brain activity's improvement had allowed him to reach the refinement realm. With the techniques he had learned, he was already more powerful than he had been in the past, so he was confident that he could deal with the backlash. The black dragon's phantom suddenly revealed a human-like sneer, deep disdain filling its eyes as it glared at Xueqi. Following which, the phantom vanished, leaving behind only a pile of ruins and the Abyssal Blade, which buried its blade in the ground. At this moment, the Abyssal Blade had recovered its original black color and was now thoroughly pitch black. There was a faint layer of black smoke surrounding it, and no one could see the weapon during the dead of night. Is this not the backlash? Xueqi examined the abyssal blade, disbelief coloring his expression. Sure enough, the more I level up the abyssal blade, the more powerful the black dragon becomes, and the weaker the suppression becomes. Xueqi walked over and pulled the abyssal blade from the ground. He then checked the attributes of the magic weapon. Abyssal blade, one-handed sword, magic weapon. Attack power plus 423. All attributes plus 36. Attack speed plus 12. Ignore levels plus 12. Attacks have 45% chance to cause 200% damage. 20% chance to cause 300% damage. 20% chance to induce Doom Curse, reducing all attributes by 40% for 35 seconds. If wielder belongs to any swordsman-related class, all skill levels plus 3. Increase free ability points received for every increase in level by 2 points. Equipment level 25. Can be upgraded. Devour 10 level 30 fine gold weapons and 1 level 30 dark gold weapon to upgrade to level 30. Can be evolved, unknown. Additional skill 1. Phantom Kill. Instantly creates a doppelganger. You can control this doppelganger. Doppelganger will have 70% of original body's attributes and all skills. At the same time, doppelganger and the original body can be swapped. Duration: 45 seconds. Cooldown: 5 minutes. Additional skill 2. Abyssal Bind. Binds enemies and prevents movement, reducing defense by 100%. Duration: 4 seconds. Cooldown: 1 minute. Additional skill 3. 9 Dragon Slash. Instantly creates 12 phantoms of the abyssal blade for the wielder to use. Each phantom sword is capable of dealing up to 45% damage. Duration: 30 seconds. Cooldown: 5 minutes. Additional skill 4. Dark Violent Dance. 50% of the total damage dealt to the target spreads in a cone-shaped area towards targets within a distance of 12 yards. Duration: 30 seconds. Cooldown: 1 minute. Additional Profound Inheritance. Black Emperor. When activated, every critical hit will accumulate 1 layer of Death Aura. Each layer of Death Aura can be used to increase all attributes of wielder by 2% and attack speed and movement speed by 1% for 10 seconds, or be used to reduce the cooldown of a skill by 3 seconds. Maximum of 30 layers of Death Aura. Duration: 10 minutes. Cooldown: 16 hours. The Abyssal Blade was personally created by Master Smith Ollises using the Black Dragon King's fangs as material. It is one of 36 famed swords, and it is ranked 31st. However, this sword has been cursed by the Black Dragon King. Aside from providing the wielder with immense strength, there will be a backlash every period of time. However, after being remodeled by Jack using a star crystal, the strength of the backlash has been greatly reduced. If the wielder is unable to suppress the backlash, the wielder will receive the curse of the Black Dragon King, permanently reducing all attributes by 50%. Unable to be dropped. Unable to be traded. The basic attributes and the skills of the Abyssal Blade had not undergone any significant changes. However, the magic weapon's attack power had massively improved. Previously, its attack power was only slightly over 300. After this evolution, its attack power had soared past 400. It was nearly 50 points higher than Firedance's level 25 Dark Gold ranked True Fire Blade. After retrieving the Abyssal Blade, Xueqi swung it a few times. He swung the weapon at a damaged stone pillar nearby. Sang! Xueqi had not encountered any resistance as he cut into the stone. The sturdy pillar felt like air as the Abyssal Blade sliced through it, splitting it in two as it fell to the ground. So sharp! Xueqi stared at the remains of the stone pillar with shock. He then glanced back at the magic weapon in his hand. The Abyssal Blade was practically a weapon of gods. With such sharpness, not even secret silver equipment could defend against it. Just as Xueqi was about to leave the tomb, over 100 players suddenly emerged from the dark forest. With a quick glance, it was obvious that these players were not all members of the same team. These new arrivals were also independent players. What happened here? These players were stupefied upon arriving at the thoroughly ruined underground tomb. Currently, the underground tomb looked more like a crater. Someone's there. A ranger with sharp eyesight pointed at Xueqi, who was preparing to leave the area. Suddenly, everyone shifted their gaze towards Xueqi. At this moment, Xueqi wore a black cloak that obscured his appearance. He had also hidden the glow effects of his equipment. However, judging by the fine workmanship of his equipment, it should be of high quality. At the very least, his equipment should be mysterious iron rank or above. Xueqi was also level 26, so one could easily tell that he was not someone to provoke. Just as these independent teams hesitated over whether to take action against Xueqi or not, another party emerged from the forest. Every member of this party was level 25 and above, and all of them were as robust as a bear. The other players avoided eye contact with these newcomers, intimidated by their cold gazes. Most importantly, all of their names were Crimson. Brother Deep, we seem to have good luck today. With such a large commotion, a treasure must have spawned here. That brat definitely has the treasure. Yeah, his level is quite high as well. If we kill him, we will not have wasted a trip even if there is no treasure. This six-man party paid no attention to the 100+ independent players standing in the distance. Instead, their eyes were glued onto Xueqi, looking at him as if he belonged only to them. Just who are these people? They actually dare act so arrogantly. A male player from one of the independent teams grumbled. The leader of said party glanced the party of 6 red names. Immediately, cold sweat beaded on his forehead as he hurriedly said, "Enough, we're leaving." But what about the treasure? Why should we let a single party have it? We outnumber them, the male player asked, confused. Enough. You stop talking. If you want to die, go ahead, but don't drag everyone else down with you. You've just arrived at Watch Cemetery, so you don't know about the unspoken rules here. There are 2 types of people you can never provoke. The first are the Tier 1 experts of Zero Wing. They are the second, Overwhelming Smiles parties. If we anger them, not a single one of us will get out of here alive. The team leader scolded as he glared at the male player. Upon hearing his team leader's words, the male player immediately shut his mouth. Before he had arrived at Watch Cemetery, he had heard of the 2 types of people his leader referred to. Nothing much would happen if one encountered the experts of Zero Wing. However, if one encountered the killing gods from Overwhelming Smile, they better pray that the other side was in a good mood. Otherwise. Following which, the other independent teams promptly departed from the area. Not a single one of them dared to stay for the show. Chapter 475, Silent Massacre. As the independent teams departed, many had sent pitying gazes to Xueqi. That fellow sure is unlucky. If we had gotten a hold of him, we would have let him live so long as he handed over the treasure. Now that those people have arrived, he won't survive. I heard that those red names seem to have some sort of special treasure that causes the players they kill to drop more items than normal. It's not seem to but must have. One of Overwhelming Smile's expert parties killed a friend of mine, and he lost 3 pieces of equipment when he died. He had even dropped some of the items from inside his bag. Because of that, my friend was so frightened that he refuses to return to the Watch Cemetery. Shut up. We need to hurry up and leave this area. We won't be so lucky if we encounter those killing gods a second time. That's right. Let's get out of here. Although these independent teams possessed the numerical advantage, the expert parties of Overwhelming Smile were like fearsome tigers. They picked up the pace, leaving as quickly as possible. Shortly after the independent teams left, the expert party from Overwhelming Smile approached the motionless Xueqi. Brother Deep, that fellow must be scared stupid. He isn't even trying to escape. How boring, a simple and honest-looking berserker laughed as he watched Xueqi. And here I thought that we had encountered a somewhat powerful player that can use for exercise. Killing noobs has become really boring. Enough. Little Whistle. Don't think that I don't know what's going through your mind. You just want to test out your new battle axe. Since this player has a fairly high level and is traveling alone, he should be relatively skilled. You can take care of him. The level 26 assassin referred to as Brother Deep laughed as he glanced at the simple-looking berserker. Right, his items seem quite good. Don't forget to use that thing. We might get some good stuff from him. Leave it to me, the berserker Little Whistle squinted as he smiled at Xueqi, excitement flashing in his eyes. Step by step, he approached Xueqi slowly. He also retrieved a black potion from his bag and emptied the contents into his mouth. This thing seriously tastes horrible. If you didn't seem to have some valuable stuff on you, I wouldn't have to suffer such a nasty fate. Brat, stand still. I'll be done in just a second. Saying so, Little Whistle raised his blood-red battle axe and swung it down toward Xueqi. Although this swing seemed casual at first glance, it contained speed, accuracy, and ferocity that far surpassed any ordinary player's attack. Moreover, the battle axe flew towards Xueqi's neck, making the attack difficult to dodge. Little Whistle's casual, yet well-calculated, attack was clearly a habit developed after many years of training. He was unlike other players whose attacks would contain many unnecessary actions and were easy to dodge. Boom! The battle axe struck the ground heavily. Ha! I missed. Little Whistle looked at his battle axe, which landed next to Xueqi's feet. He had aimed properly. Did I have too much to drink earlier? However, just as he was about to lift his blood-red battle axe once more, he suddenly saw a streak of black light flash across his eyes. Before he could react, his field of vision began to flip. In the next moment, he felt a slight pain, and his vision began to gray as his body fell to the ground. As Little Whistle was a red name, over half of his equipment dropped upon his death. Immediately after, his immortal soul flowed into Xueqi's hand. Although he can't be considered an expert, he is still a skilled veteran. He is significantly stronger than an elite player. It's no wonder a single party has been able to wipe out teams easily. Xueqi thought as he frowned at the berserker lying at his feet. He then shifted his gaze to the 5 other party members a short distance away, paying no attention to the large amount of equipment scattered before him. This. When the 5 experts from Overwhelming Smile saw their teammates suddenly fall to the ground, disbelief colored their faces. Just what had happened here? Why was Little Whistle suddenly dead? From the beginning they had focused on Xueqi. However, they could say with certainty that Xueqi had not moved. They only saw a streak of black light flash across Little Whistle's body. Black light. Right, it's that black light. Everyone, be careful. That brat has some sort of special item. The assassin named Brother Deep cautioned his team. He immediately activated stealth and melded with the darkness. The other 4 party members responded by unsheathing their weapons, watching Xueqi's every action. They had finally understood that they had encountered a slightly more difficult foe. If they did not respond properly, they might lose their lives without even knowing how they died. However, while they watched Xueqi, they discovered that the swordsman had suddenly disappeared. Where is he? The 5 of them examined their surroundings, failing to discover any signs of movement. A player had disappeared so simply right before their eyes. Was he an assassin? This thought suddenly popped into their minds. However, they had previously checked and could say with certainty that Xueqi was definitely a swordsman. Otherwise, they would not have been so carefree. After all, it would be extremely difficult to catch an assassin in stealth. While the 5 experts from Overwhelming Smile searched for Xueqi, he suddenly appeared behind the 5 players. Crap! Behind us! All 5 players were war veterans, so their sensitivity towards danger was extraordinary. They instantly discovered Xueqi, turning to attack him. At this moment, however, several streaks of black light emerged from Xueqi's hand. The black lights gave the 5 experts no time to react at all, even with their acute sensitivity. Damn! The assassin named Brother Deep hurriedly used Vanish, utilizing the moment of invincibility to block this mysterious strike. However, the assassin's 4 party members were not as fortunate as the Abyssal blade bit into them. Their HPs, ranging from 3,000 to 4,000, instantly fell to 0. When the 5 experts saw this horrific damage, they looked as if they had seen a ghost. This is bad. I'll definitely die if I stay here. When Brother Deep, the only survivor remaining, saw Xueqi look directly at him with a smile, his heart pounded as goosebumps covered his body. He was clearly in stealth. Other players should not be able to see him at all. Yet, pinned by Xueqi's gaze, it was obvious that the swordsman saw him as clear as day. However, Brother Deep did not know that, as a Tier 1 class, Xueqi's perception was very high. Moreover, he also had omniscient eyes. An assassin's stealth was practically useless. Due to his momentary shock, Brother Deep failed to avoid the streak of black light. Immediately, his HP depleted, and he was forced out of stealth. Before he knew it, his body had fallen to the ground. Such a quick sword. Even in death, the assassin could not figure out when Xueqi had attacked. Their party had consisted of people who had experienced life-or-death situations many times, so their awareness of danger was particularly sensitive. However, none of them had detected the slightest precursor to Xueqi's attacks. They had not been able to detect Xueqi's sword when it was a few inches from their faces, much less been able to defend themselves. "You'll be the sixth." Xueqi spoke softly as he looked down at the shocked assassin. "Relax, you'll have more companions soon." "Just who are you?" Upon hearing Xueqi's words, Brother Deep craved the answer to this question. However, as his HP had reached 0, he could no longer open his mouth. When Brother Deep thought about such a person slaughtering his companions, goosebumps rose all over his body. If such an expert suddenly decided to take action against them, none of them would have any hope of survival. Chapter 476. Haunted. Only after finishing off Overwhelming Smile's expert party did Xueqi begin to loot the items they had dropped. Since Overwhelming Smile and Zero Wing had labeled each other hostile guilds, none of the members of either guild would receive any crime value when killing each other. However, aside from slaughtering the members of Zero Wing, the expert parties of Overwhelming Smile also frequently killed players who possessed high-quality equipment, resulting in them becoming red names. As red names, the penalty they received for dying multiplied, resulting in them dropping an abundance of items when they died. The 6 Overwhelming Smile experts had dropped a total of 54 items. Of them, 45 pieces were equipment, with a majority of the equipment being secret silver rank, and only 8 being fine gold rank. However, this was a significant harvest. In addition, there were 9 items had dropped from the experts' bags. Of the 9 items, 7 had dropped from the first berserker Xueqi had killed. In God's domain, the chance of players dropping items from their bags upon death was minuscule. However, as the Overwhelming Smile experts were red names, this chance had been multiplied by several times. Even so, it was still a very small chance. The fact that Xueqi had obtained 7 items from a single player's bag, in addition to the 45 pieces of equipment from killing a 6-man party, was mainly due to this berserker dropping all of his equipment. He had nothing left. It was unbelievable. Just how abysmal is this fellow's luck? Did he do something to anger the heavens? Not even someone who had killed thousands would have such a fate. Xueqi could not help but pity the berserker lying at his feet. Regardless of how Xueqi felt, he still pocketed the berserker's items. However, when he looked through the items, he discovered a dozen bottles of a black potion. Isn't this the potion that berserker drank before the battle? Xueqi examined the black potion and suddenly recalled the berserker's comment. He had not given the man's words much thought at the time, but as he looked at the potion now, he realized that it was something special. The black potion would actually increase the drop rate when killing players. However, the potion's effects similarly affected its user, and if the user died, their drop rate would multiply as well. This was the first time Xueqi had seen or heard of such a potion. There were over 10,000 types of potions in God's domain. Although he had played the game for over a decade, he was still ignorant of many of the items in the game. It was especially true for original creations of master alchemists, master forgers, and other lifestyle masters. Xueqi then read the black potion's data. Sure enough, this potion was crafted by a player. Xueqi could not help his shock upon reading the information of the black potion. This potion is called Haunted. Once consumed, the PvP drop rate increases from 100% to 300%. Meanwhile, if the user is killed by another player, their drop rate increases from 200% to 600%. Haunted has a duration of 5 minutes and a cooldown of half an hour. Whoever made this potion is amazing. Xueqi wanted to meet Haunted's creator. Unfortunately, the creator was displayed as unknown. It was clear that Haunted's creator wanted their identity to remain hidden. Xueqi had a significant understanding of God's domain. There were indeed tools that could increase a player's drop rate when killing other players, and every one of these tools were precious. However, Xueqi had never heard of a potion with such a function. It was inconceivable that such a potion had appeared. The current players of God's domain were still very low level, and the materials they could obtain were limited. To create such a powerful potion with such limited materials, this alchemist must be a genius. No wonder Overwhelming Smile is so zealously slaughtering other players. With Haunted, they can easily obtain plenty of valuable equipment. Xueqi suddenly understood the reason behind Overwhelming Smile's abnormal actions. Currently, as both Zero Wing and Overwhelming Smile fought in an all-out war against each other, both sides had suffered significant losses in terms of equipment. With Haunted, however, Overwhelming Smile could fund their battles with battles. The more well-equipped the player they killed was, the higher the quantity and quality equipment they could obtain. Normally, players would only drop one piece of equipment upon death. A single player had over 10 pieces equipped. If only one out of those many pieces dropped, the chances of obtaining a good equipment was relatively low. After consuming Haunted, however, the members of Overwhelming Smile could obtain up to 3 pieces of equipment from the players they killed, significantly increasing their chances of obtaining good equipment. Since this is the case, I won't have to be polite with them. Xueqi revealed a faint smile as he stored the 12 bottles of Haunted in his bag. In reality, the PvP drop rate relied heavily on the luck attribute. Xueqi's current luck was relatively high. If he activated Divine Providence, he could raise his luck to 25 points. If Xueqi killed an ordinary player, even without consuming Haunted, it was almost certain that player would drop 2 or 3 pieces of equipment. Moreover, there was a relatively high chance for those 2 or 3 pieces to be the best pieces said player wore. If he included the effects of Haunted. Considering the situation, Xueqi began to search through the guild channel, looking for any guild members in Watch Cemetery who had encountered an ambush. Perfect. You'll do. After a moment, sure enough, some members had reported through the guild channel that Overwhelming Smile's experts had ambushed them. They were in the Watch Cemetery. Immediately, Xueqi input the coordinates into the 7 Luminaries ring and activated space movement. He then jumped into the spatial crack that appeared before him. In one of the gravel-filled prairies of the Watch Cemetery, a team of over a dozen players ran desperately for their lives. As they ran, the ranged classes on this team attacked the 6 robust-looking players pursuing them. If this happened anywhere else, it would confuse any onlookers. The side with more players actually fled from the side with less players. In the Watch Cemetery, however, nobody would find this scene surprising because the side with less players consisted of bloodthirsty lunatics with astonishing strength. Moreover, this party of lunatics consisted of only melee classes. There was not a single ranged class in their party. Damn, why aren't any of my attacks hitting them? One of the escaping male elementalists grumbled, dismayed as he watched the distance between his team and their 6 pursuers decrease. Hold on for a little longer. The Tier 1 experts of our guild are heading towards us right now. A level 24 ranger, the leader of the team, tried to encourage his team members as he attacked with a frostbolt. Everyone on the team nodded to their team leader's words, newfound hope blooming in their hearts. The group of Overwhelming Smile experts behind them was simply too powerful. Before they had realized they were being ambushed, 4 of their team members had died. Although they tried to retaliate, the experts dodged or blocked most of their attacks. Only a small number of control skills had any effect. Unfortunately, none of those skills were fatal. As soon as the battle had begun, they had sent out distress messages through the guild channel, reporting their current location. Fortunately for them, one of their guild's Tier 1 expert parties was only a short distance away from them. They would be safe as long as they could reach that Tier 1 expert party. Everyone stop! The ranger shouted when he saw a cloud of cold air rising from the ground in front of them. Before any of them had noticed, another party had appeared. Moreover, the shield warrior standing in the lead was currently using a magic scroll. Unfortunately, the ranger's command was too late as a gigantic icicle suddenly emerged from the ground. The icicle struck the players at the forefront of their team, a damage of over -1,000 points appearing above their heads. Simultaneously, frost shrouded their bodies, massively reducing their movement speed. We're finished. Despair filled the ranger's eyes as he stared at the massive icicle in front of them. They had barely survived the pursuit of a single party of experts. Now that another party had appeared, blocking their path, they no longer had any hope of escape. Ha ha ha, come on, keep running. I want to see how far you can get. One of Overwhelming Smile's experts sneered upon seeing the Zero Wing team's predicament. At this moment, however, a spatial crack appeared in the air, and a human figure suddenly emerged. Oh, it seems that I am quite lucky today. After Xueqi landed, he swept a glance over the two expert parties from overwhelming smile, a faint smile appearing on his face. Chapter 477, Youlan's Worries. In White River City, shortly after Overwhelming Smile had established its guild residence, the street outside the guild residence was already packed with players hoping to join the guild. Over 10,000 players waited for their evaluation, far surpassing Zero Wing's guild recruitment. Currently, Overwhelming Smile offered 3 to 4 times more benefits than their rival. In addition, Overwhelming Smile had already become the unshakable overlord of Maple City. Now that Overwhelming Smile had its own guild residence, its momentum was unstoppable. As a result, many independent players who had observed the situation from the sidelines had decided to take action. In White River City, Zero Wing only had 3 advantages. The first was the presence of Black Flame, the #1 expert of Star Moon Kingdom. There were also plenty of experts in Zero Wing, making the guild a good place to seek guidance and improve oneself. The second was the guild residence. Members of Zero Wing could receive a large number of high-level guild quests, allowing them to level up and earn money easily. The fact that members could accumulate a double EXP buff while resting in the guild residence was also quite attractive. The third was Zero Wing's guild warehouse. A lot of top-tier equipment was constantly available for guild members to earn. These items were not available outside of Zero Wing. However, to the majority of the players in White River City, Zero Wing's most attractive benefit was its guild residence. It was the reason that many had hesitated when choosing between Zero Wing and Overwhelming Smile. However, that issue had been resolved. Now that the well-funded Overwhelming Smile had its own guild residence as well, Zero Wing had lost its advantage. Currently, compared to Overwhelming Smile, the overlord of a city, Zero Wing was inferior. It was obvious which guild they should join. Ah, we are too late. A level 23 female cleric sighed helplessly when she saw the long line of players outside Overwhelming Smile's guild residence. The cleric then turned to the level 25 female elementalist beside her, grumbling to the innocent-looking girl in silver clothing, "Rain, this is your fault. I told you that, as long as Overwhelming Smile establishes its guild residence, a ton of players are going to try to join. Now we've got to wait so long if we want to join." Blue Bamboo, I've said it before. I'm only playing God's Domain because I am curious about this world. I want to understand more about this realistic fantasy world, and I don't really mind not joining a guild. Thoughtful Rain shook her head in response to her friend's words. She was not particularly interested in joining any guild. Rain, you're wrong about this. God's Domain is such a vast world, and there are plenty of dangerous places. If we're not strong enough, how can we explore those places? Meanwhile, joining a guild is undoubtedly the fastest way to grow stronger, the female cleric named Blue Bamboo countered. Just look at how poorly we are faring right now. We bought a majority of our equipment. To make things worse, our equipment is crappier than what guild members have. In that case, shouldn't we join Zero Wing? Thoughtful Rain asked, confused. I hear that Zero Wing's warehouse contains plenty of top-tier equipment that no other guild can match. Speaking of Zero Wing, Thoughtful Rain suddenly recalled the man named Yi Feng who had helped her before. She remembered that he was one of Zero Wing's members. The library emblem he had given her had helped her greatly, and she wondered how that man was faring. Don't you know? A war has recently broken out between Zero Wing and Overwhelming Smile, and each report is more amazing than the last. As a result, the independent players who had originally hesitated are now desperately trying to join Overwhelming Smile. Do you know why? Blue Bamboo asked mysteriously. That's because Zero Wing no longer has an advantage over Overwhelming Smile. Previously, Zero Wing slaughtered Overwhelming Smile's members, driving the guild into a corner. Now, however, the situation has completely changed. Overwhelming Smile has somehow managed to recruit a large number of experts, and these experts have slaughtered Zero Wing's members, scaring them from leaving the city. It probably won't be long before Zero Wing is destroyed, which is why so many players are rushing to join Overwhelming Smile. Moreover, Overwhelming Smile no longer targets Maple City. It has shifted its focus to White River City. The fact that the guild has established its first guild residence in White River City rather than Maple City had made that obvious. If we don't join Overwhelming Smile now, it will only be harder to do so in the future. Thoughtful Rain nodded, seeing the logic in Blue Bamboo's words. However, she looked at Blue Bamboo and said softly, "You are correct. However, I still don't want to join Overwhelming Smile." Saying so, Thoughtful Rain immediately turned and left. "Fine then. I'll listen to you, but you better not regret your decision later." Blue Bamboo took one last glance at Overwhelming Smile's guild residence before following Thoughtful Rain. Meanwhile, inside Overwhelming Smile's guild residence, all of the guild members were currently in a celebratory mood. Initially, Zero Wing had been a thorn in their side. Now, however, their problems had been solved. With over 200 experts from their guild ambushing the members of Zero Wing, the war had turned to their favor. Many of Zero Wing's members were too afraid to leave the city. This greatly boosted the pride of everyone from Overwhelming Smile. At this moment, however, the atmosphere in the guild residence's meeting room was extraordinarily tense. "What? You're saying that Little Deep's party was completely wiped out? How is that possible?" Feng Xianyang was unable to stomach the news he had just received. The new batch of underworld guards that had been sent consisted of live combat veterans. Although not all of them were experts in God's domain, they were only slightly inferior. Even if these underworld guards encountered one of Zero Wing's Tier 1 expert parties, they could still drag one or two of their opponents to the grave with them if they went all out. However, a single player had annihilated one of these parties. They could not even escape. How could Feng Xianyang possibly believe this? Young Master Feng, there are countless experts in God's domain. The underworld guards aren't invincible, either. There is nothing strange about the slaughter. However, based on Little Deep's report of their assailant, it is likely that they ran into Black Flame. We already know the majority of the experts in White River City. Aside from Summer Sunshine, Black Flame is most likely the only player capable of this massacre, Youlan explained. Feng Xianyang had never watched a battle between true experts of God's domain. However, Youlan had personally witnessed Black Flame and Summer Sunshine's frightening encounter. Hence, she was not the slightest bit surprised about the appearance of an expert capable of destroying an underworld guard party single-handedly. "You're saying that Black Flame is responsible? Is Black Flame really that strong?" Feng Xianyang asked skeptically. In his opinion, Black Flame was just a frog in a well. How could he possibly defeat a party of underworld guards by himself? "Young Master Feng, I guarantee that Black Flame is more than capable of performing such a feat. However, this is not the most important information we have received. Based on what Little Deep said, after they died, they could not log into God's domain for some time. Moreover, every underworld guard is currently a red name. If they die, they will lose at least half of their equipment. We will suffer a massive loss. Now that Black Flame has involved himself and is using such methods, if he focuses on hunting down the underworld guards, it will be a disaster for us. I suggest that we have the underworld guards stop their ambushes, retreat from the Watch Cemetery, and go elsewhere to level up," Youlan suggested. From the moment she met him, she had never been able to see through the man known as Black Flame. Now, Black Flame had suddenly begun to act and killed a party of underworld guards. This was not a good sign, and Youlan began to worry. Hence, she thought it best to quit while they were ahead. "Youlan, you worry too much. Even if Black Flame is powerful, the Watch Cemetery is a massive area. Do you really believe that he can scour the entire map by himself?" Feng Xianyang said disdainfully. Little Deep was simply unlucky and coincidentally encountered Black Flame. Losing one party isn't significantly damaging. On the other hand, our rampant ambushes on Zero Wing are severely wounding the guild. Moreover, there are so many treasures in the Watch Cemetery. If we give the area up, not only will it greatly reduce our guild's morale, but we will also lose a huge source of income. Besides, while Zero Wing has Black Flame, do you think that Underworld does not possess experts aside from the Underworld guards? Feng Xianyang laughed. Chapter 478. 7 Ghosts. Have they arrived as well? Yolan's beautiful eyes widened upon hearing Feng Xianyang's words, shock coloring her features. Although the Underworld guards were the core combatants of Underworld, they were not the peak combatants. Even so, the Underworld guards were only slightly inferior to the peak combatants of other first-rate guilds. they were more than enough to deal with second-rate guilds. Since Feng Xianyang had said as much, the new arrivals were not members of the Underworld Guards. Instead, they should be the peak combatants of Underworld, the 7 Ghosts. That's right. To eliminate Zero Wing quickly and ensure that we obtain White River City, upper management has sent us 2 ghosts. With the 2 of them, Black Flame's good fortune will come to an end, Feng Xianyang laughed. Since 2 of the 7 ghosts have arrived, Black Flame's hunting spree will no longer be an issue. On the contrary, this is our chance. Youlan nodded as she revealed a smile. Underworld was a massive organization, and those who joined the Underworld Guards were already considered experts. Meanwhile, the 7 ghosts stood out among the Underworld Guards and stood at the peak of the organization. The 7 ghosts held very high positions in Underworld, and even Feng Xianyang had to treat them with respect. Every one of the 7 ghosts was an extraordinarily talented expert carefully selected by Underworld. Moreover, they had received Underworld's unreserved nurturing and hell-like training. Their strength had long since surpassed the realm of ordinary humans. If several ghosts worked together, even an expert like Summer Sunshine would be helpless. Now that Black Flame was going all out in his hunt of the Underworld Guards, this was very good news for Overwhelming Smile. If the 2 ghosts found Black Flame while he was on his hunting spree, perhaps they could kill Black Flame and utterly destroy Zero Wing. Just as Feng Xianyang and Youlan discussed Shi Feng, the man currently faced off against 2 Underworld Guard parties in the Watch Cemetery. Good luck. What an arrogant little brat. The 2 Underworld Guard parties glared at Shi Feng, before turning to each other, smiling. The members of Zero Wing also watched Shi Feng, who currently hid his appearance under his black cloak, astonishment filling their eyes. Shi Feng had accidentally appeared and claimed to have good luck. Did he not know that the 2 parties surrounding them were the famous killing gods? Every one of these players was a demon who could slaughter people without batting an eye. Those who encountered these killing gods had only one ending: death. We have to hold our ground. Our guild's Tier 1 experts are almost here. We'll be saved as long as we hold on for a little longer, the leader of Zero Wing's team said, gritting his teeth. A thread of hope appeared in the eyes of Zero Wing's members. When they looked at the 2 Underworld Guard parties surrounding them, their gazes burned with fighting spirit. Oh, you guys must have a death wish. Old 6, you deal with these guys. I'll deal with the new brat. A youthful-looking level 26 swordsman named 5th Ghost ordered with a deep voice. The youth was tall and robust, and he was currently garbed in golden battle armor. Brother 5, you're too cunning. This is the first expert we've found after such a long hunt, yet you're sending me to deal with the trash while you steal the expert for yourself. The level 26 berserker named 6th Ghost complained. That brat is a swordsman. I'm also a swordsman, while you're just a berserker. Naturally, I should deal with him. If we meet a berserker, you'll deal with them. Deal. 5th Ghost laughed. The berserker named 6th Ghost could only nod in response. He then looked towards the Underworld Guards, saying, "Leave these people to me. You guys only need to prevent them from escaping." Yes. The Underworld Guards immediately took up their formation. However, when Zero Wing's members heard that the man named 6th Ghost intended to deal with them alone, they rejoiced. Each side had about the same number of players. If the enemy faced them as a team, they stood no chance. If only one person attacked, however, they could probably kill that player and escaped. We'll charge together. After we get rid of him, we can take the opportunity to break through the encirclement, the ranger team leader whispered. At this moment, when Shi Feng saw 6th Ghost approach the group, he suddenly said, "No, you guys aren't his match. In a moment, run in the opposite direction. Elementalists, use ice walls and frozen circles while I hold them back." Zero Wing's elite team was strong enough that they had a good chance of defeating any ordinary expert. However, the berserker before them was not an ordinary player. The killing intent and pressure he radiated did not belong to an ordinary expert, so much so that even Shi Feng sensed danger from the berserker. Moreover, when Shi Feng used omniscient eyes to inspect everyone's data, 6th Ghost's data surprised him. The berserker named 6th Ghost was actually a Tier 1 class. This was the first time Shi Feng had encountered a Tier 1 class belonging to another guild. The swordsman named 5th Ghost was also a Tier 1 class. Judging from the respectful attitudes the Underworld Guard parties showed these 2 players, Shi Feng guessed that the 2 were not ordinary characters. They were definitely high up in Underworld. Originally, Xueqi intended to hunt down Underworld guards. Now, however, rather of hunting a cat, he had found a tiger. Thank you for the warning. However, we are the elites of Zero Wing. Even if he is powerful, he can't take us down easily if we work together, the Ranger team leader said confidently. However, before the Ranger could finish his words, Sixth Ghost had used charge, leaving only an afterimage behind him. In the blink of an eye, Sixth Ghost arrived before Zero Wing's battle-ready shield warrior. He then activated Cleave and slashed his saber down on the shield warrior. Just as this shield warrior was about to block the attack with his shield, Sixth Ghost's saber suddenly vanished. The saber instantly reappeared in the shield warrior's blind spot and struck its target, sending the shield warrior flying backward. A damage of over -2,600 points appeared above the shield warrior's head, reducing his HP by more than half. The entire process was as smooth as flowing water. None of the surrounding Zero Wing members had reacted to Sixth Ghost's attack. They could only watch as their MT was sent flying. Sixth Ghost's damage shocked Zero Wing's elites. None of them could believe that a berserker could actually deal over -2,600 damage to a shield warrior. However, Sixth Ghost was not done with the shield warrior. Twisting his feet slightly, Sixth Ghost transformed into an afterimage as he weaved through the crowd of players. He arrived behind the still airborne shield warrior and sent out another slash. Nobody had ever expected a berserker to be so agile. Although the entire process seemed slow, in reality, everything had happened in an instant. Just as Sixth Ghost's saber was about to strike the shield warrior's back and end his life, Sixth Ghost suddenly spun and used Whirlwind Slash. Pang! Dazzling sparks scattered around him. Sixth Ghost's battle saber collided with a pitch-black sword. Meanwhile, the owner of this sword was none other than the mysterious newcomer, Xueqi. Brat, you sure are in a hurry to die. Sixth Ghost licked his lips, a hint of excitement appearing in his eyes as he smiled at Xueqi. Since you can attack soundlessly, you should have also reached that realm. If not for his many years of combat experience and his senses picking up on Xueqi's faint killing intent, he would not have detected Xueqi's attack. Fortunately, he sensed the attack at the very last moment and instinctively used Whirlwind Slash. Otherwise, Xueqi's attack would have been successful. Other than his sparring sessions with the other ghosts, this was the first time he had encountered such a situation. Chapter 479. Triple Cut. Saber and sword intersected, scattering sparks. Following which, Sixth Ghost and Xueqi exchanged moves continuously. Both Xueqi and Sixth Ghost possessed frightening strength, the ground beneath them cracking under the pressure. Surprisingly, neither expert had actually taken a single step back. However, it was a different story for the players watched from the sidelines. Due to the resulting impact from the weapons collision, the spectators were forced to retreat. They are so powerful. Even from this distance, I can feel how intense the impact is. No wonder Little Horse was sent flying, the Ranger team leader muttered as he watched the scene before him. Fear filled his gaze as he watched Sixth Ghost. Since he had started playing God's Domain, this was the first time he had seen a player with such ferocious strength. It was simply terrifying. However, the fact that Xueqi could contend with such a monster was just as astounding. At this moment, the Tier 1 swordsman, Fifth Ghost, gaped at the two combatants with utter disbelief. Just who is that? He can compete with Old Six's strength. Fifth Ghost's gaze sharpened as he began to watch Xueqi carefully. In terms of strength, a Tier 1 berserker was definitely the strongest of all the classes. Moreover, Fifth Ghost knew how Sixth Ghost had allocated his free attribute points. They had all gone into his strength. Every piece of Sixth Ghost's equipment was also strength-based. Yet, a swordsman like Xueqi was on equal footing with Sixth Ghost. It was inconceivable. Among the 7 ghosts, Sixth Ghost's strength ranked third. Even a swordsman like himself refused to confront Sixth Ghost directly, relying on techniques to achieve victory instead. Now that an expert, capable of matching Sixth Ghost's strength, had appeared, Fifth Ghost could not help but focus on the fight. Brat, it seems that you're a Tier 1 class as well. I won't continue playing games, then. Sixth Ghost roared, and suddenly, the skin covering his entire body turned red. His momentum had also changed as a violent aura surged forth from his body. This move was a Tier 1 skill belonging to Tier 1 Berserkers, Bull's Rage, which increased the player's strength by 20% for 15 seconds. Sixth Ghost's strength had already been quite high. Now that it had increased by another 20%, simple gestures were enough to crack the land beneath his feet. You are 10 years too early if you think you can compete with my strength. Sixth Ghost swung his battle saber, which was as tall as he was, slashing the blade down on Xueqi. Both his speed and power far surpassed his previous attacks. Yet, Xueqi did not try to dodge this attack. Instead, he swung the abyssal blade in his hand towards Sixth Ghost's saber. Everyone was confused. Even Fifth Ghost, who watched from a distance, revealed a disdainful sneer at this sight. Sixth Ghost's Bull's Rage was not the average skill. Rather, it was an enhanced skill. Unlike the normal version, the enhanced version of Bull's Rage increased a player's strength attribute by 30%. Although it was just a measly 10% to Sixth Ghost, that 10% was the equivalent of more than 30 points in strength. Having an additional 30 points in strength was like wearing an additional piece of top-tier equipment that added strength. In terms of a Tier 1 player's levels, this increase equated 4 or 5 additional levels. After activating Bull's Rage, Sixth Ghost was the strongest among the 7 ghosts. A Tier 1 swordsman stood no chance against Sixth Ghost's strength. Xueqi overestimated himself if he thought he could challenge Sixth Ghost's attack head-on. The only way to deal with Sixth Ghost's attack was to dodge. However, even dodging was impossible. After all, even experts like them, who had reached that realm, found it extremely difficult to dodge Sixth Ghost's saber techniques. Everyone pictured Xueqi's figure flying backward the instant the saber and sword collided. Boom! The ground beneath both combatants' feet cracked, the impact of the collision creating a dust storm that enveloped the battle. You! Sixth Ghost's eyes widened with shock upon seeing Xueqi block his attack with just one hand. He had already activated Bull's Rage, yet, Xueqi still blocked his attack. The skill had increased his strength attribute by over 100 points. This increase alone was already as much as what an ordinary player possessed. Yet, Xueqi had blocked it. The onlooking crowd gaped when they saw the small crater below the fighter's feet. Are they NPCs? None of them could believe what they saw. Was this really a battle between players? If not for the player-specific diamond-shaped markers hovering above both sides' heads, they would have suspected that the two were monsters of God's domain fighting over territory. So he really was telling the truth. Only now did Zero Wings members realize why Xueqi had warned them before the battle had begun. With such frightening strength, even if Sixth Ghost had not utilized any skills and relied solely on his techniques and attributes, he would not have needed long to annihilate their team. Just who are you? After this single exchange, Sixth Ghost hurriedly retreated from Xueqi. He was on high alert as he watched his opponent, no longer as calm as before. Even a fool could tell that Xueqi's basic attributes were far superior to Sixth Ghost's. From their previous exchange, Sixth Ghost realized that Xueqi had only been testing his strength. With this realization, an indescribable anger overtook Sixth Ghost's heart. All this time, he had been the one to test others' strength, never the other way around. Now that someone had done the same to him, Sixth Ghost's pride as one of the 7 ghosts had been wounded. You attacked first. Why are you the one asking this question? Xueqi chuckled. Brat, you're courting death. As Sixth Ghost bellowed, the battle saber in his hands transformed into 3 saber images. These saber images sealed off Xueqi's path of retreat as they bombarded their target. At this moment, it looked as if Sixth Ghost held not 1, but 3 battle sabers in his hand. Soundlessly, Sixth Ghost appeared right in front of Xueqi. Hand-to-hand combat relied on 2 things: attributes and techniques. Currently, Xueqi's attributes were far superior, so Sixth Ghost chose to contend with Xueqi using techniques. Triple cut. Xueqi's expression immediately turned grave. Immediately, he brandished the abyssal blade, meeting the oncoming attacks. Triple cut was a more advanced technique compared to second acceleration. Second acceleration was a technique used to fool the enemy's eyes and attack the blind spot. However, triple cut was an advanced attack technique that relied on the body's center of gravity to focus all power into a single point. The attack was extremely fast, to the point that others would see 3 weapons instead of 1. In reality, these were only afterimages. Dang, dang, dang. The sound of metal clashing echoed through the air. For a time, the area between Sixth Ghost and Xueqi had become a whirlwind of blades. The constant and deafening clangs of metal on metal made everyone's ears ring. However, when they looked at the battlefield, they failed to see any collision between weapons. Such a powerful triple cut. Although Xueqi had not received any damage, he struggled to defend against Sixth Ghost's attacks with the Abyssal blade. Even though he was significantly faster than Sixth Ghost, he could do nothing but defend himself. This was the first time Xueqi was at a disadvantage against a berserker in a contest of speed. Xueqi had to admit that an advanced attack technique could increase a player's combat power significantly. Fortunately, he was quite a bit faster than Sixth Ghost. He had also already entered the refinement realm. He could perceive both attacks and dodging maneuvers meticulously. Otherwise, he would have already died under Sixth Ghost's triple cut. However, although Xueqi struggled to cope with the attacks, Sixth Ghost was not having an easy time either. Even after using Bull's Rage, every time he crossed blades with Xueqi, he could feel his hands tremble from the resulting impact. His HP had even begun to fall slowly with each consecutive impact. Although it was only a very tiny amount, after a long period, his HP would eventually vanish. "Old Six, I'll help you." Suddenly, Fifth Ghost's figure appeared behind Xueqi. Immediately, he used triple cut with his two swords, aiming for Xueqi's back. Chapter 480. Stepping into the second phase. Fifth Ghost was a Tier 1 swordsman. Although he did not possess Sixth Ghost's frightening strength, in terms of speed, he was significantly superior to the berserker. In particular, Fifth Ghost's control over his center of gravity when using the advanced attack technique triple cut surpassed Sixth Ghost's. In addition, Fifth Ghost had used Windblade, increasing his speed significantly. At this moment, one could even vaguely see a fourth afterimage of his sword. Presently, Xueqi had already focused all his power into defending against Sixth Ghost's attack. He simply had no time to consider Fifth Ghost. When Fifth Ghost saw his sword piercing Xueqi's chest, a sinister smile appeared on his face. "Brat, although your strength is quite good, you are still 10 years too early if you think you can fight against us 7 Ghost. Brother 5, be careful." Sixth Ghost suddenly shouted in panic when he saw Fifth Ghost's delighted appearance. Ha! Fifth Ghost immediately sensed that something was wrong because his instincts were telling him right here, and now that he had already arrived at death's door. He then realized the sensation he felt with his hand, when his sword stabbed into Xueqi, was as if he had just pierced through air. Suddenly, he felt goosebumps rising all over his body. He immediately activated his life-saving skill, Defensive Blade, and abruptly leaped forward. However, he was still a step too slow. Hua! 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 At the same time as he activated Defensive Blade, Fifth Ghost felt chilling sword auras striking at his back. These piercing sword auras were the attacks Xueqi had launched at Fifth Ghost upon arriving behind the ladder using silent steps. If Fifth Ghost had not activated Defensive Blade at the first sign of danger, allowing him to negate several instances of damage, he would have become a corpse by now. Just who are these people? Xueqi knitted his brows slightly. Xueqi found it truly hard to believe that such experts would actually appear in Underworld. He had also never heard of such experts in his previous life. After using silent steps, he had swung the Abyssal Blade immediately. At such a short distance, as well as with the element of surprise, experts of the same level definitely would not be able to react in time. Yet, Fifth Ghost actually managed to activate Defensive Blade and leap forward before the Abyssal Blade landed on his body. Furthermore, from the attack Fifth Ghost had sent out before, Xueqi could clearly perceive just how powerful Fifth Ghost was. When Sixth Ghost used Triple Cut, he was able to apply the technique only to a normal attack. He could not use the technique with a skill. On the other hand, Fifth Ghost was able to integrate Triple Cut together with a skill. In fast-paced close combat like this, other than some special skills like silent steps and instantaneous movement, the difficulty of using attack skills in battle was extremely high. Such attack skills simply had too long a cast time and required one to go through fixed motions before the skill could be activated. The speed of using an attack skill was simply incomparable to the speed of a normal attack. Moreover, even if one was highly proficient with a skill and could activate it very quickly, excessive speed could easily result in distortions in the motions and, consequently, a drop in completion rate, rendering the skill practically useless. Hence, The fact that Fifth Ghost was able to integrate an attack skill into the battle was something extremely difficult to achieve. Performing such a feat was no longer something feasible for ordinary men. Even Shifeng's current self would not be able to do so. Moreover, Shifeng had clearly been the one to attack first, yet he was still a step behind Fifth Ghost. This situation reminded Shifeng of Soaring Snake's godlike reaction speed. Fifth Ghost might be similar to Soaring Snake, both of them possessing a reaction speed of less than 0.1 second. Shifeng estimated Fifth Ghost's reaction speed at around 0.7 second. However, it was obvious that Fifth Ghost was more proficient at utilizing his reaction speed to his advantage. Originally, Shifeng had thought of following up his victory with a hot pursuit. However, upon noticing Sixth Ghost charging at him, he had no choice but to shift his focus. Brat, not bad. Not only are your attributes so overpowered, you actually possess that sort of skill as well. You very nearly did me in just now. However, you will no longer get another chance like that. After regaining his composure, Fifth Ghost turned around to look at Shifeng, a hint of greed flashing across his eyes. He then took out a bottle of Haunted and drank it. Every piece of equipment they had on them was top tier. Yet, Shifeng had still managed to overwhelm them with his attributes. This showed that Shifeng's equipment was a cut above theirs. If they could kill Shifeng and obtain his equipment, it would definitely allow their combat power to rise to the next level. In a 2-on-1 situation, Shifeng no longer held back as he used Purgatory Power, increasing his attack speed by 100%. He then used Void Steps, vanishing from everyone's eyes. He disappeared. Sixth Ghost was stunned. Before he could figure out what was going on, he suddenly discovered that Shifeng had already appeared directly beside him, the abyssal blade mere centimeters from his neck. Sixth Ghost hastily bent his body away with all his might. However, he was still too late as a fountain of blood sprayed out from his neck, a critical damage of over -3,000 points appearing above his head. From this attack alone, Sixth Ghost had lost more than half of his HP. Immediately after, Shifeng followed up with another strike. One more hit was all he needed to finish off Sixth Ghost. However, Fifth Ghost's sword was already curving towards Shifeng. Moreover, Sixth Ghost was now aware of the danger, his saber moving to greet Shifeng's sword. In this situation, Shifeng had no choice but to break off his attack. He then used Void Steps once more and disappeared from everyone's sight. So you're Black Flame. However, if you think you can rely on this footwork to defeat us, think again. Before coming to the Watch Cemetery, Fifth Ghost had already received information on Black Flame from Youlan. He had also watched the battle between Black Flame and Summer Sunshine, so Shifeng's Void Steps was still fresh in his mind. Now that he was seeing the footwork in action, he determined Shifeng's identity right away. Then, Fifth Ghost abruptly changed his sword's trajectory, swinging the weapon at the empty air beside him. Fifth Ghost's action confused the spectators. They could not understand what the swordsman was trying to achieve with this action. In the next instant, however, everyone immediately received an answer to their questions when Shifeng suddenly appeared in the path of Fifth Ghost's sword. At this moment, Shifeng was using the abyssal blade to defend against Fifth Ghost's attack. He's adapted to Void Steps already? Shifeng was slightly surprised. Shifeng knew full well that Void Steps was not an invincible technique. Although the footwork could force others to ignore his own presence, making it seem as if he had vanished from thin air, someone who had undergone special training could still catch him once they let their eyes adapt to the technique. There was nothing strange in people like Fifth Ghost and Sixth Ghost being able to perform such a feat. However, the speed with which Fifth Ghost managed to adapt to the technique still exceeded Shifeng's expectations. During Shifeng's moment of surprise, Sixth Ghost had also slashed his saber at Shifeng's back, forming a pincer attack around Shifeng. Left with no other choice, Shifeng activated Windwalk as well as Void Steps to retreat. Although the two ghosts had adapted themselves to Void Steps, there was still a brief moment of delay before their eyes could locate Shifeng. Hence, Shifeng still persisted in using Void Steps to retreat. For a time, both sides entered a stalemate. The exchange between saber and swords created a storm that engulfed the audience. The surrounding spectators were shocked by this scene, and not even their eyes could keep up with the three combatants' actions. Looking at the high-speed battle between the three, even breathing seemed superfluous. Despite Shifeng's attack speed receiving a huge boost and the significant effect of Void Steps, Shifeng was still forced into passivity. The two ghosts' attacks were extremely tricky to deal with. In particular, fifth ghost's attacks would always strike from various different blind spots, and never once would the swordsman face Xueqi in a direct confrontation. If not for the fact that Xueqi had already entered the refinement realm, his grasp over attacks and movements becoming extremely precise, he would have long since lost his life to the two ghosts. Although Xueqi was currently locked in a passive state, he was enjoying every moment of this high-speed battle. Ever since the increase in his brain activity, he had not had a chance to familiarize himself with the sudden boost to his perception as well as the sudden enhancement in his control over his own body. This battle was the perfect opportunity to get used to his new improvements. Chances to fight against experts were extremely rare, let alone against experts who were capable of forcing him into such dire straits, where even the slightest mistake could cost him his life. Moreover, Xueqi could not help but admit that the coordination between fifth ghost and sixth ghost was indeed very amazing. Regardless of how he tried to attack or dodge, he could never fully defend against the attacks of the two ghosts. As a result, he had lost close to half his HP already. However, under the steady onslaught, the accuracy of Xueqi's actions was also gradually increasing. The damage the ghosts inflicted was also gradually decreasing. Their attacks really are precise. At this moment, even Xueqi could feel himself growing mentally tired. Die! Fifth Ghost took advantage of the moment Xueqi used void steps and vanished to slash at the ladder's back, giving Xueqi no chance to dodge or block at all. At the moment of life and death, a slight change came over Xueqi. Suddenly, Xueqi's movement stopped. In the next moment, Fifth Ghost's sword actually brushed past Xueqi's body. However, Fifth Ghost did not stop his attacks as he continued brandishing his two swords. Sixth Ghost kept hacking at Xueqi with his saber as well, not giving him any chance to dodge or block. Yet, no matter how hard they tried to hit Xueqi, he always managed to avoid their attacks ahead of time. It was as if Xueqi had long since known the trajectory of their attacks. So this is the second stage of the refinement realm, the flowing water realm. It's no wonder I wasn't a match for those people in the past. Xueqi could not help but smile while dodging the two ghosts' attacks. Chapter 481. Flowing Water Acceleration. Fifth Ghost and Sixth Ghost immediately detected the sudden change in Xueqi, and the two ghosts promptly distanced themselves from their target. As experts of God's domain, their perception of danger was far superior to ordinary players. On the other hand, the dazed players watching Xueqi's battle were confused by the two ghosts' actions. There were no visible changes to Xueqi's outer appearance, and neither were there any changes to his attributes. So why did Fifth Ghost and Sixth Ghost suddenly choose to back away from him? Was it just my imagination? Fifth Ghost somewhat doubted his own senses. He could not understand why Xueqi would suddenly undergo such a drastic change. Originally, the pressure Fifth Ghost felt from Xueqi was that of a tiger. However, in the blink of an eye, Xueqi had transformed into a violent dragon. Moreover, it was a violent dragon with extremely sharp fangs and claws. Let alone them, even ordinary people would know to distance themselves from Xueqi upon sensing such a radical difference. Since you guys aren't going to take action, then don't mind if I do, Xueqi said as he revealed a meaningful smile. He then raised his sword and slowly approached his two opponents. The refinement realm could be said to be what differentiated a true top-tier expert from an ordinary expert. As for players who set foot into the refinement realm, not one of them was not an expert who could single-handedly turn the tides of a battle. Once players entered the refinement realm, they would be able to exert the minimum amount of strength to achieve the maximum effect. This was especially notable when players were attacking or dodging. Despite the opponent's speed greatly surpassing their own, players in the refinement realm could easily dodge their opponent's attack using the simplest of movements. Not only could they dodge with greater efficiency, but they could also take the opportunity to better detect their enemy's weaknesses, to give their enemy a fatal blow. Due to this reason, the refinement realm became the dividing line for true experts. Meanwhile, there was an even higher realm above refinement, and that was the flowing water realm. Through detailed observation of the opponent, players could place themselves in their opponent's position in order to understand their opponent's every action. They could then anticipate their opponent's next action, or even multiple subsequent actions, and make the most appropriate response. In other words, before their opponent had even taken action, players in the flowing water realm could have already known what their opponents were going to do next and carried out appropriate countermeasures. Compared to responding only after the opponent had begun taking action, players would have a lot more time to react and perform swifter and more precise actions. Hence, for Xueqi, who had already seen through the coordinated attacks of 5th Ghost and 6th Ghost, it was very easy for him to dodge and react to his two opponents' attacks. When Xueqi slowly approached 5th Ghost and 6th Ghost, the two ghosts unconsciously began backing away as well. Looking at this scene where one side was advancing while the other was retreating, the surrounding spectators were stupefied. In particular, the underworld guards' jaws nearly fell to the ground upon witnessing this scene. The 7 ghosts were underworld's most formidable weapons. Yet, the 2 ghosts before them were actually displaying cowardice right now. How could this be any more inconceivable? Meanwhile, Xueqi also wore a helpless expression on his face as he took in this situation. He promptly fished a bottle of Haunted from his bag and drank it. He then used Wind Blade on 5th Ghost, his body transforming into an afterimage. In the blink of an eye, Xueqi appeared in front of 5th Ghost and swung the Abyssal Blade at the other swordsman. Xueqi's slash was unimaginably fast. The spectating crowd only saw a flash of black light. They could not make out Xueqi's sword at all. So fast. 5th Ghost was greatly alarmed. It was definitely impossible for him to dodge Xueqi's attack. However, with his godlike reaction speed, 5th Ghost still managed to react before Xueqi's sword landed on his body, instinctively using triple cut to block this fleeting sword. Dang! Sparks scattered into the surroundings. At the moment of imminent peril, 5th Ghost succeeded in blocking Xueqi's attack with the sword in his hand. As a result of the impact, however, 5th Ghost was forced to retreat numerous steps before he could stabilize his body. His entire hand also numbed from the impact. How could this be? This is triple cut? 5th Ghost and 6th Ghost both looked at Xueqi with horror-filled expressions, as they were extremely familiar with Xueqi's previous attack. Triple cut was an advanced technique that they had trained in bitterly in order to grasp. At this moment, however, Xueqi had actually effortlessly used that technique against them. How could they not be shocked? So there's such an effect as well. Xueqi looked at the Abyssal Blade in his hand, similarly surprised. Just now, he had taken advantage of the pressure 5th Ghost and 6th Ghost had placed on him to enter the flowing water realm. However, he had not expected that, after he entered the flowing water realm, his attack would also receive such a boost. Originally, he had relied on eliminating excess actions in order to increase the speed of his attacks. At this moment, however, maybe because his control over his body had received a huge improvement, the instant he attacked, he was able to apply all his physical power into that single slash. As a result, not only were there no excess movements in his attack, but his attack had also received a huge acceleration, which allowed his sword to reach its maximum speed in the shortest amount of time possible. Taking 5th Ghost as example, if the initial acceleration of 5th Ghost's sword was counted as 100 and his sword's maximum speed as 20, then from the moment he started swinging his sword, he would need 0.2 seconds for his sword reach its maximum speed. As for Xueqi, his current initial acceleration would be 200. If his maximum speed was similarly 20, then he required only 0.1 second to reach his maximum speed. Hence, his sword could reach his target much faster than 5th Ghost's. However, this was assuming both sides possessed the same maximum speed. In reality, as Xueqi's attributes were much higher, his maximum speed was a lot higher than 5th Ghost's and 6th Ghost's. Thinking up to this point, Xueqi could not help but grow excited. Hoping to find the feeling from before, Xueqi stepped forward and launched a fierce assault on 5th Ghost once more. Streaks of black light suddenly appeared before promptly disappearing. 5th Ghost was forced to go all out to defend against the attacks. However, no matter how hard he tried to defend himself, the attacks were simply too overwhelming, forcing him into a constant retreat. Seeing this situation, 6th Ghost hurriedly charged forward to aid his companion. Immediately, he used triple cut, slashing his saber at Xueqi's back. Originally, with Xueqi's speed, it had simply been impossible for him to block the attack. However, 6th Ghost suddenly saw a streak of black light emerge behind Xueqi, the black light deflecting his attack completely. Just what is going on here? 6th Ghost looked at Xueqi's calm expression in abject horror. At the beginning of the fight, Xueqi had been desperately trying to defend against his saber. Now, however, Xueqi could effortlessly block his attacks without even turning his head around. During the brief moment 6th Ghost was in a daze, A streak of black light penetrated Fifth Ghost's defenses, piercing right through the swordsman's heart. A critical damage of over -3,000 points promptly appeared above his head as the massive impact sent his body flying backwards. Because of the impact, Fifth Ghost's defense crumbled, allowing several more streaks of black light to land on his body. In the blink of an eye, Fifth Ghost's HP reached 0. At Fifth Ghost's death, the equipment on his body and the items in his bag dropped and scattered across the ground around him. This scene stupefied everyone present. How was the thing in Xueqi's hand a sword? That was practically a laser gun. With just a few shots, Fifth Ghost died without even being able to resist. Only now did Sixth Ghost finally react. Although he wished to help, he was already too late. Right then, Xueqi used void steps and disappeared once more. Don't think that you can easily do me in. Sixth Ghost bellowed as he used Whirlwind Slash, sweeping his battle saber around himself. In the next moment, however, a streak of black light shot at Sixth Ghost's weapon. Boom! Sixth Ghost's battle saber was abruptly stopped cold. Immediately after, another streak of black light pierced Sixth Ghost's body, instantly ending the berserker's life. Once more, equipment and items were scattered across the ground. The members of the Underworld Guards shivered and paled at the sight of Fifth Ghost's and Sixth Ghost's bodies lying on the ground. They promptly turned around and fled. As Underworld Guards, they knew full well just how powerful the two ghosts were. Working together, the two of them could easily annihilate 4 or 5 Underworld Guard parties. Meanwhile, the fact that Xueqi succeeded in defeating the two ghosts all by himself showed that he was also fully capable of annihilating their two parties. If they did not escape, only death awaited them. Want to escape? Too late. Xueqi immediately changed the aura of space to the aura of wind, increasing his movement speed greatly. He caught up with the fleeing Underworld Guards in no time, and just like a whirlwind sweeping away the clouds, he practically killed each Underworld Guard with just one hit. In the blink of an eye, the 10 remaining Underworld Guards were turned into a pile of corpses, their equipment and the items inside their bags scattering all over the ground around their corpses. Chapter 482. The Strength of a Single Man. This haunted really is frightening. It is actually able to force a red name to drop every single piece of equipment they are wearing. Underworld should be shedding tears right about now. Xueqi's heart was filled with joy when he looked at the ground littered with items. Killing the elite members of a guild would not cause any significant damages to said guild, as these elite members only had advanced equipment. Such equipment could be easily replaced. The equipment of experts, on the other hand, was different. Every single expert was an accumulation of a guild's top-tier equipment. Meanwhile, behind every piece of top-tier equipment was the sacrifice of a large number of players. Being able to steal a piece of top-tier equipment from a guild was the equivalent of slicing a piece of flesh off said guild. The Underworld Guard parties had a total of 12 members. Of them, 10 were mostly geared in level 25 secret silver equipment mixed with a few pieces of level 20 fine gold and even dark gold equipment. As for Fifth Ghost and Sixth Ghost, their equipment was only slightly inferior to that of core members of Zero Wing. The majority of their equipment consisted of level 25 fine gold equipment, and even the most inferior pieces were level 20 dark gold equipment. Now, however, these 12 players were left with not a single piece of equipment on their bodies, thanks to Xueqi. In addition, the 12 had also dropped plenty of items from their bags. Among them were plenty of haunted potions, as well as the good quality equipment such as level 20 secret silver and fine gold equipment they had harvested from other players. Making a rough estimate, Xueqi had earned more than 100 gold just from killing these 12 players. Split this advanced equipment among yourselves. Don't forget to leave some for your dead companions. Xueqi only collected the top-tier equipment and haunted potions for himself, leaving the remainder for the team. He then disappeared into the dense forest in search of other Underworld Guard parties. So cool. Is that person really our guild leader? A female summoner asked as she watched Xueqi's departing figure, her gaze carrying a seductive charm. It should be. Before, when that person named him Black Flame, he did not deny it. Moreover, he has even willingly left behind so much good equipment for us. Other than our guild leader, I doubt there would be anybody who would do such a thing. The ranger team leader nodded in reply, his heart filled with an indescribable sense of excitement. It really is great to be a member of Zero Wing, the others could not help but exclaim. Despite the ongoing war between Zero Wing and Overwhelming Smile, as the leader of a guild, Xueqi had actually taken the initiative to enter such a dangerous location all by himself. He had even rushed to their rescue at the first sign of trouble. With such a guild leader, even if they fell back to level 0 as a result of battling Overwhelming Smile, they would still do so willingly. Although guild leader has left all this good equipment to us, I suggest that after we set aside several pieces for those who died, we should place the remainder in the guild's warehouse. Now that we are waging a war against Overwhelming Smile, the guild's expenditure is very large. We can't take advantage of the guild at such a crucial period, the ranger said. The others promptly nodded in agreement. Currently, Xueqi was searching for treasure chests in the Watch Cemetery while waiting for Space Movement's cooldown to end and news to appear in the guild channel. Space Movement had a 5-minute cooldown. As he did not wish to waste time during this period, he had started hunting for treasure. Xueqi could not be more familiar with the Watch Cemetery. He had visited this place many times in search of treasure in his previous life. Moreover, in the past, many treasure chest locations had been published on the official forums. Back then, as treasure chests that had already been found would not reappear at the same location, nobody actually cared about keeping these locations a secret. Instead, they actively publicized and showed off their discoveries. As a result, their actions would now benefit Xueqi. There were plenty of secrets in God's domain. In reality, Xueqi had just taken a casual glance at these treasure chest locations back then. He had not paid any particular attention to them. Even if his memory was very good, he could only vaguely remember these locations now. After all, nobody knew that they would reincarnate into their past lives. However, due to the improvement of Xueqi's brain activity, even his memory had received a huge boost. The things he could only vaguely remember before were now as clear as the sun at noon to him. Hence, his search for treasure chests became a very easy task. It was as if he was looking at a treasure map while treasure hunting. After just a brief search, Xueqi had already discovered a bronze treasure chest, obtaining more than 3 silver coins and a level 25 mysterious iron weapon from it. The number of treasure chests in this area is too little while the number of players is too high. Many of the treasure chests should have already been discovered by someone else. It seems that I can only try my luck somewhere else, Xueqi muttered as he collected the items inside the bronze treasure chest. Currently, level 25 mysterious iron weapons were still in high demand. He then took a look at the system map. As I recall, there should be plenty of high-quality treasure chests located in the inner regions of the Watch Cemetery. Following which, Xueqi dashed directly towards the inner region of the Watch Cemetery. For a couple of hours, Xueqi searched for treasure while killing any underworld guard parties that dared show themselves. During this period, Xueqi had opened more than 30 treasure chests. Among them, 14 were bronze treasure chests, 16 were mysterious iron treasure chests, and 6 were secret silver treasure chests. He had also killed 11 underworld guard parties. Overall, he had gained a frightening harvest. Although these underworld guard parties did not have experts like 5th Ghost and 6th Ghost, they still contributed plenty of top-tier equipment to Xueqi's harvest. After all, these underworld guards normally killed many players, so they had accumulated quite a lot of good stuff, both on their bodies and in their bags. Now, however, all these items belonged to Xueqi. In other words, these underworld guards had just carried out free labor for Xueqi. Just the number of top-tier equipment Xueqi obtained exceeded 100 pieces, not to mention advanced equipment. Xueqi's harvest had instantly made up for much of the losses Zero Wing suffered before. Inside the guild residence of Overwhelming Smile, 5th Ghost and 6th Ghost died. How is this possible? Feng Xuanyang's eyes widened in shock upon reading the report he just received. He could not at all accept this matter as real. 5th Ghost and 6th Ghost were Underworld's most formidable weapons. Now, not only had both of them lost all their equipment, but they could not even log back into the game right now. Just how was he supposed to report this incident to the higher-ups? This black flame is simply too vicious. Seated to the side, Youlan, who was garbed in a set of alluring purple robes that placed her exquisite figure on full display, knitted her brows tightly, a gloomy expression currently on her face. Contrary to expectations, Youlan was not particularly concerned about this piece of news. Compared to 5th Ghost's and 6th Ghost's deaths, she was more concerned about the number of deaths in the Underworld Guard parties. Currently, statistics showed that more than 80 Underworld Guards had already died. As of this time, Underworld had sent over 200 Underworld guards to Overwhelming Smile, and close to half had died. Practically all the Underworld guard parties posted at the Watch Cemetery were dead by now. This loss was already well over the limit they could endure. Even if they emptied Overwhelming Smile's entire guild warehouse, they would not be able to make up for the loss in top-tier and advanced equipment. Aside from that, there was also the loss of levels, as well as the fact that all those killed by Xueqi were unable to log back into God's domain for a long period of time. Just how did he manage such a feat? Youlan muttered in confusion. The Underworld guard parties were clearly scattered far apart from each other, making it extremely difficult to catch them all. Yet, Xueqi had only used a few short hours to wipe out nearly every Underworld guard party within the Watch Cemetery. While Feng Xianyang and Youlan were feeling depressed, information regarding Xueqi's feat spread like wildfire throughout White River City. Players who received this piece of news were thoroughly amazed. 1 hit per person. Xueqi had actually managed to suppress a powerful guild all by himself, slaughtering Overwhelming Smile to the point where it had no choice but to recall all its members from the treasured land known as the Watch Cemetery. This was simply too frightening. For a time, Zero Wing was once more the topic of conversation in the entire White River City. Chapter 483. Everlasting War. Although the fight in Watch Cemetery had not been on a large scale, it had dealt a massive blow to Overwhelming Smile. This was not a matter of winning or losing. Instead, it was because Overwhelming Smile had conceded. This one point proved that Overwhelming Smile was inferior to Zero Wing. In addition, Xueqi's stunning performance had calmed the rush to join Overwhelming Smile. Previously, they all had an optimistic view on Overwhelming Smile, believing that the guild was about to overtake the position of White River City's overlord. Now, however, the situation had taken a 180-degree turn. Needing only 1 hit per person, Xueqi had wiped out all of Overwhelming Smile's experts within the Watch Cemetery. Without that hindrance, Zero Wing's Tier 1 experts were able to display their strength as they swiftly wiped out the normal members from Overwhelming Smile, forcing the guild to pull back from the treasured land known as the Watch Cemetery. The Watch Cemetery was White River City's most resource-rich level 20 to 30 map. Losing it would undoubtedly be detrimental to Overwhelming Smile's future development. Although Overwhelming Smile was wealthy, that wealth would be meaningless if they could not convert it into leveling resources. The sky slowly darkened as the setting sun gradually disappeared past the horizon. After a day's struggle, many players had begun to return to the city to rest and celebrate their day's harvest. Bars, restaurants, clubs, and many such establishments were already crowded. At this moment, in the rooftop dining room of a high-class restaurant, 2 female players feasted on delicacies as they enjoyed the view of White River City. Many male players present snuck glances at these 2 women. Of the 2 female players, one was petite and lovely, while still sporting stunning curves. The other was even more beautiful. Her face was so pure that it put flowers to shame and outshone the moon. Her snow-white skin looked so delicate that it seemed as if it might break from the gentlest touch. Currently, although she wore a long, aqua-blue mage robe, trimmed in gold, the clothing failed to conceal her graceful body. These 2 were none other than Blue Bamboo and Thoughtful Rain, the pair that had originally planned to join Overwhelming Smile. Blue, what did I tell you? Look how quickly Zero Wing suppressed Overwhelming Smile, Thoughtful Rain said as she glanced at Blue Bamboo, the gentle smile in her ink-black eyes intensifying. Previously, due to her refusal to join Overwhelming Smile, Blue Bamboo had pestered her ceaselessly, giving her a huge headache. Only now that Zero Wing had forced Overwhelming Smile to submit did the girl finally relent. Overwhelming Smile is truly disappointing. To think that I thought so highly of it, it actually dared to let me down. I don't want to join Overwhelming Smile anymore, either. Blue Bamboo pouted. Disappointed. I already told you that Zero Wing is far superior to Overwhelming Smile. After all, it was the first guild to own a guild residence in White River City. Not only that, it claimed the best residence available in White River City. It also has plenty of experts. Currently, the various guilds in White River City barely have any Tier 1 experts in their guilds. Yet, I hear that Zero Wing already has over 50. Zero Wing has long since taken the lead. Furthermore, its guild leader Black Flame, is a titled expert. Thoughtful Rain's thin lips shifted slightly as she explained, smiling tenderly. Since that's the case, why don't we join Zero Wing? Blue Bamboo could not help but have expectations. Zero Wing's exam is very strict. I might be able to pass it, but I'm afraid that you. Thoughtful Rain shook her head after evaluating Blue Bamboo. Humph. Who says my techniques are bad? I've only recently begun playing virtual reality games. After some time, I'll be more amazing than even Black Flame. Besides, Blue Bamboo's ink-black eyes suddenly shone as she revealed a meaningful smile, saying, Rain, I know that you've encountered one of the higher-ups of Zero Wing before. His name was Yi Feng, I think? He gave you a permanent pass to the library. All of my classmates turned green with envy when I told them about that item. Since he gave you such a precious pass, he should be able to admit us into the guild without any issues with his position. I am only acquaintances with him. Blue, stop overthinking things, Thoughtful Rain hurriedly explained. Besides, if he invites you into Zero Wing, and you perform badly, what then? Others will question his ability to manage the guild. Are you my best friend or his? You're actually defending him, yet, you claim that there is nothing going on between you two? I don't care. In any case, I want to join Zero Wing. I have always wanted a piece of level 25 fine gold equipment. With your felonious body, you just have to say the word, and he'll let me into the guild and smother us with fine gold equipment. Blue Bamboo stated as she swept a glance at Thoughtful Rain's graceful body, her lips hooked up into a deep, suggestive smile. Thoughtful Rain was suddenly speechless. At this moment, a party of 6 suddenly appeared before the female duo. The leader of this party was a middle-aged man with a burly body, examining the two with world-weary eyes. None of the party could be underestimated as the other 5 also gave off an air of danger. The party's stance alone left the surrounding witnesses breathless. Their levels were even more astonishing. Of these 6, the lowest-leveled player was level 26, while the leading middle-aged man was a level 27 Guardian Knight. Excuse me, ladies, I couldn't help but overhear that the both of you are familiar with the higher-ups of Zero Wing. I wonder if you can introduce us to them? If you do, this level 25 Morning Dew staff will be yours, the leading middle-aged man said, smiling warmly. He then retrieved a 2-handed staff made of pure white jade from his bag, placing the weapon on the table. Red gemstones were inlaid in the staff, and with a glance, it was obvious that the staff was no ordinary weapon. Wah! This is a secret silver staff. Its attributes are awesome. Blue Bamboo was immediately mesmerized by the Morning Dew staff. She then turned to Thoughtful Rain, saying, Rain, we're heading over to Zero Wing anyway, so why don't we take them with us? I don't know. Why do you want to meet Zero Wing's higher-ups? Thoughtful Rain only swept a glance over the Morning Dew staff before shifting her gaze back to the middle-aged man. She was no fool. Since they had offered a level 25 secret silver weapon as a token of appreciation, then they were definitely plotting something. She would not be a proper friend if she abruptly contacted Yi Feng without knowing their intentions. Miss, please don't misunderstand. My name is Everlasting War. We seek the higher-ups of Zero Wing purely with the intention of conducting trade. This trade will only benefit, not harm, Zero Wing, so you can rest assured. If we really wanted to cause trouble for Zero Wing, we would have already done so. We wouldn't have to go through this much trouble, the middle-aged man explained. All right then. I'll contact him for you, but it will be up to him whether or not he meets with you. Thoughtful Rain nodded in agreement, feeling that Everlasting War's words sounded reasonable. Following which, Thoughtful Rain called up her friends list and contacted Yi Feng. Chapter 484, King. Currently, Xueqi carefully scoured one of the dark, quiet tombs in Watch Cemetery's core region. While he explored, Xueqi had received news from Aqua Rose about Overwhelming Smile withdrawing from the competition over the Watch Cemetery and shifting its focus to several other level 20 maps with fewer resources. The members of Overwhelming Smile had also begun to keep a low profile. With the threat of Overwhelming Smile gone, Xueqi decided to transverse deep into Watch Cemetery's core. The tomb he currently explored was unique. It was a resting place for royalty. It was also known as a king's tomb. Locating this particular tomb had not been easy. As it had been built to prevent grave robbers from plundering the valuables buried with the dead, this place had been carefully hidden. It had been built inside a cave under a steep cliff. After its construction, the original path used to travel to this place had been destroyed. After several hundred years, vines had covered the cliff, making it even more difficult to notice the cave. In the past, a skilled assassin had accidentally discovered this location. Afterward, that assassin had led a powerful team to the king's tomb and successfully plundered the treasure inside. After claiming the treasure, he sold the item for over 1,000 gold, earning everyone's envy. Even so, in the god's domain of that time, the assassin had still taken a loss when he sold the item. Why had it been a loss? Although the item was utterly worthless to an independent player, to guilds, it was priceless. Various large guilds would willingly spend 2,000 or 3,000 gold, much less 1,000. The treasure the assassin had found was a guild residence promotion order. All guild residences started out as a 1-star residence when established. If a guild wished to upgrade it to a 2-star residence, they needed to meet 2 requirements. First, a guild needed a sufficient amount of guild popularity. The second thing they needed was a 2-star guild residence promotion order. If a guild residence reached 2-star status, the guild could establish certain facilities that were unavailable to a 1-star residence. More importantly, a guild residence's private rooms would change. Guilds could only establish 1-star private rooms in a 1-star residence, whereas 2-star private rooms could be established in a 2-star residence. By resting for 24 hours in a 1-star private room, players could store up to 20% of the double EXP buff. In a 2-star private room, however, players could store up to 25% after 24 hours. In addition, a guild could establish a smithy inside a 2-star residence, allowing members to have their weapons and equipment repaired. Moreover, the repair fees as the guild smithy were 10% cheaper than elsewhere. Repair fees were always expensive. Although there was only a 10% difference, players could still save a significant amount of money. Currently, Zero Wing's popularity had exceeded 5,000 points. It had met that requirement for the upgrade. Hence, now was the perfect time for Xueqi to collect the promotion order. Danger awaited any player inside the king's tomb as traps had been built throughout the crypt. Unfortunately, none of these traps proved to be useful against Xueqi. He destroyed every trap he encountered with a single slash. This should be it, Xueqi muttered as he entered a majestic stone room, focusing on the tightly sealed white jade sarcophagus lined with gold that occupied the center of the room. Wetting his lips, he advanced towards the sarcophagus. When Xueqi was only 20 yards away, the sarcophagus suddenly opened. Black smoke slithered out of the sarcophagus. Soon, the black smoke coalesced into a youth in golden armor. The youth had a white cape draped over his shoulders and a golden crown adorning his head. More importantly, the youth carried the air of a king. Anyone who basked in his aura would tremble and submit body and soul. However, this youth's body was currently in a half-transparent, ethereal state. He was not a physical entity, but a ghost. To be precise, this youth was the ghost of a king. As expected of the king of a generation. Even in death, he still possesses such a powerful aura. If he were still alive, I'd have no hope of escaping with my life, Xueqi muttered after observing this ghost king with omniscient eyes. King of Ghosts, Monroe Bell, High Lord. Level 30. HP 4000 000/4 Being capable of receiving the title of king proved that Monroe Bell had been a Tier 3 class before he died. The pair of swords in Monroe's hands indicated that he had been a Tier 3 sword king, the equivalent of a great lord, during his lifetime. However, after Monroe Bell died, he had weakened significantly. Now, he was only as strong as a high lord. Even so, he would not be an easy challenge for Xueqi. Immediately, Xueqi activated Heavenly Dragon's power, increasing his strength by 100%, HP by 300%, and defense by 300%. Suddenly, Xueqi's HP rose past 27,000. However, his HP could not compete with the King of Ghosts, which possessed 4 million HP. Xueqi then used the activatable skill of the 7 Luminaries Ring's aura of water, life bloom, recovering 20% of his HP every second for 40 seconds. During this period, it would be the equivalent of having a powerful healer healing him indefinitely. Grave Robber. Receive the Sword of Justice's retribution. Monroe Bell's pitch-black eyes locked onto Xueqi. Taking a step forward, the King of Ghosts dashed towards Xueqi as he sent a flurry of sword thrusts at the intruder with his king's sword. The King of Ghosts' sword carried with it a majestic aura. The aura alone was enough to scare an ordinary player, much less the flurry of thrusts. Monroe Bell's attack was like a tsunami. He gave Xueqi no opportunity to evade the strikes. Xueqi immediately activated Purgatory Power, allowing his attack speed to soar. He then used Wind Blade and charged forward. Facing the countless oncoming sword thrusts, Xueqi chose to face brutality with grace, and rather than confronting the attack head-on, he deflected the strikes to the side. However, despite the extreme speed of his swords and the fact that he was already in the flowing water realm, he could not keep up with the dozens of sword thrusts. As a result, he received multiple hits. Xueqi was not courageous enough to face Monroe Bell directly. A High Lord far surpassed an ordinary lord. Monroe Bell suppressed Xueqi completely in terms of strength and speed. Even if Xueqi activated twofold Berserk, the result would be the same. Furthermore, Monroe Bell was not an ordinary High Lord. The King of Ghosts had been a bona fide Sword King before he died. In terms of combat technique utilization, he was even stronger than ordinary experts. Hence, challenging the High Lord in a direct confrontation would only be detrimental to Xueqi. If Xueqi had not reached the flowing water realm, gaining insight into an opponent's actions, he would never have come here, only to die. After all, level 30 was a dividing line in God's domain. Monroe Bell's attack power was also terrifying. Xueqi had received close to -2,000 damage from a casual slash, and more than -4,000 damage if the King of Ghosts struck him with a skill. If Xueqi had not activated Heavenly Dragon's power, increasing his defense significantly, Monroe Bell's normal attack could have dealt over -4,000 damage, whereas a skill would deal over -10,000. As Xueqi received damage, Life Bloom displayed its impressive effects. After factoring in the passive effects of the Aura of Water, Life Bloom regenerated more than 8,000 HP every second. The amount of healing Xueqi received surpassing the damage he received. While Xueqi and the King of Ghosts fought an intense battle against each other, a figure had stealthily appeared beside the sarcophagus and proceeded to open the treasure chest within. This treasure chest did not have a level restriction, so anybody could open it. However, opening it required 20 seconds. During this period, the person opening the treasure chest must not receive any damage. Otherwise, they would have to start the opening process all over again. Meanwhile, the person currently opening the treasure chest was none other than Xueqi's doppelganger. Although the doppelganger could not pick up any items, it could open the treasure chest. In the past, the 50-man team the assassin had led had similarly made various sacrifices to open the treasure chest before fleeing for their lives. Although Xueqi was alone, he still chose to give the king's tomb a try. After all, not only did he possess the strength to resist a High Lord for a short time, but he also had his doppelganger. No one else would have a chance of completing the task by themselves. The moment the doppelganger opened the treasure chest, Xueqi instantly swapped positions with it, having his doppelganger delay Monroe Bell while he looted the contents of the treasure chest. Monroe Bell was simply too powerful. Xueqi's doppelganger barely lasted 3 seconds before it died. However, during those 3 seconds, Xueqi had emptied the treasure chest. Seeing Monroe Bell charge towards him, Xueqi hurriedly switched the Aura of Water to the Aura of Space before activating space movement and leaving the king's tomb. Chapter 485. Number 1 Guild. Near one of the mass graves in Watch Cemetery's outer region, a tear in space suddenly appeared in mid-air. In the next moment, Xueqi emerged. I finally escaped. Even after Xueqi landed, he could still hear the King of Ghosts' angry roars. However, the tear in space had already closed. Even if Monroe Bell recovered his strength as a Tier 3 Sword King, he could not reach Xueqi now. Now that I have the promotion order, it should be about time to make a trip back to White River City. Xueqi's lips curled up slightly when he saw the glittering silver token in his bag. Originally, he had only intended to retrieve this guild residence promotion order after he reached level 30. However, he had not expected to set foot in the flowing water realm. Even though he was only level 26, he was already capable of delaying Monroe Bell. Other than the promotion order, Xueqi had obtained 3 items from the king's tomb. Of these 3 items, one was a fiery red 2-handed staff, one was an azure 2-handed greatsword, and the last was a silver stone tablet. Appraising these items with omniscient eyes, Xueqi discovered that both the 2-handed staff and 2-handed sword were actually level 30 dark gold weapons. However, the silver tablet surprised Xueqi far more than the 2 weapons. Xueqi was very familiar with this silver tablet. Secret sword technique. The pattern engraved on this tablet is too vague and incomplete, and no information can be deciphered. However, some kind of divine power hides within this pattern. If one gathers all of the stone tablets, this vague and incomplete pattern can be restored. Current tablet count, 1/6. The tablet for the secret sword technique. Xueqi had accidentally obtained a part of it while he had completed the Blade Saint's legacy trial. Back then, he had suspected that the silver tablet was something extraordinary, so he had stored it in his warehouse. He never expected to obtain another piece so soon. Just what is this secret sword technique? Despite examining the tablet, Xueqi could not find any differences between the tablet he had just obtained and the one he had found in the Origin Sword domain. The 2 pieces looked identical. Xueqi even suspected that the piece he stored inside his warehouse had somehow grown legs and run to the king's tomb by itself. Forget it. Let's head back for now. Following which, Xueqi retrieved a return scroll. However, just as he was about to start channeling, suddenly, Xueqi's communicator rang. Thoughtful Rain, a girl he had only met once before, was contacting him. Is she looking to buy equipment? Xueqi looked at Thoughtful Rain's name, feeling slightly surprised. Previously, when he had met Thoughtful Rain at White River City's library, the latter had expressed her interest in purchasing weapons and equipment from him. Xueqi felt a sense of familiarity from Thoughtful Rain. Now that his brain activity had increased, he could recall even the smallest fragment of the past. Yet, even after his memories had refreshed, he still could not recall the girl. He only felt that she was familiar, but he did not know why. Miss Rain, since you have contacted me, are you interested in purchasing some equipment? Xueqi asked pleasantly, smiling. I'd like to, but today, I'm contacting you because I have found a big business opportunity for you, Thoughtful Rain said, smiling sweetly. A group of people just happened to overhear me when I spoke about our acquaintance. In the end, these people asked me to contact you for them. They hope to meet with you now. Do you have the time? Who are these people? Xueqi asked. He says his name is Everlasting War. He's a level 27 Guardian Knight, and his companions are all level 26. From the looks of it, they seem quite powerful, and they have excellent equipment. I'm assuming that someone with significant financial power backs them, Thoughtful Rain said. All right, then let's meet at Zero Wings Guild residence. Xueqi nodded before disconnecting the call. He then activated the return scroll. Xueqi had heard of Everlasting War before. That person had been a famous character in God's domain, having the title of Everlasting War God. He was also an Apex expert, and his fame was not the slightest bit inferior to Summer Sunshine's. In a direct confrontation, even Summer Sunshine would not be a match for Everlasting War. 20 seconds later, Xueqi transformed into a streak of white light as he teleported back to White River City. The sky gradually darkened. A large number of players had returned to the city, and people crowded the streets. Passing through the lively streets, Xueqi soon arrived at the bank. He then stored all of the top-tier and advanced equipment he had obtained in the guild's warehouse. He also placed the level 30 Dark Gold Staff, the Roaring Blaze Staff, and the level 30 Dark Gold Greatsword, the Azure Heart, on full display in the guild's warehouse. For a time, the members of Zero Wing went into an uproar. The war between Zero Wing and Overwhelming Smile had significantly depleted the stock of equipment inside the guild's warehouse. Now, however, over 1,000 pieces of equipment had suddenly appeared. Aside from the large amount of advanced equipment, the stock of top-tier equipment had already exceeded 100 pieces. Beyond that, there were actually level 30 dark gold weapons inside the guild's warehouse. Currently, the players of various large guilds still struggled to obtain level 25 equipment. Bronze equipment was a challenge to obtain, much less mysterious iron. On the other hand, their guild had level 30 weapons. They were dark gold weapons to boot. They were definitely the best weapons in all of God's domain right now. However, shortly after everyone in the guild started spreading the news, Xueqi had arrived at the Adventurers Association. He handed over the guild residence promotion order, officially promoting Zero Wings residence to a 2-star residence. Star Moon Kingdom System Announcement. Congratulations to Zero Wing for becoming the first guild in Star Moon Kingdom to own a 2-star guild residence. Rewarding 30,000 guild popularity, 500 gold coins to the guild, and 1 guild smithy promotion order. White River City System Announcement. Congratulations to Zero Wing for becoming the first guild in White River City to own a 2-star guild residence. Rewarding 10,000 guild popularity and 200 gold coins. The system announcement repeated 3 times, and every player in White River City heard it loud and clear. Damn! What is this crap? Our guild hasn't even obtained a guild residence, yet, already, Zero Wing has a 2-star guild residence? What's this 2-star residence thingy? Lots and lots of money. Suddenly, Star Moon Kingdom's official forums exploded with activity. Everyone discussed Zero Wing, and the various large guilds had also begun asking around about the benefits of a 2-star guild residence. Also, what was a guild smithy promotion order? However, the activity on Star Moon Kingdom's forums paled in comparison to White River City's. Zero Wing is simply too amazing. Overwhelming Smile has only managed to establish its guild residence after much difficulty. Yet, Zero Wing has already obtained a 2-star guild residence. I've just received news that Zero Wing's warehouse has received an influx of top-tier equipment. There are even level 30 dark gold weapons in there. Now, Zero Wing's guild residence has been promoted to 2 stars. Zero Wing is simply overpowered. It seems that Zero Wing is still the true overlord of White River City. Although Overwhelming Smile is rich, it still cannot compete with Zero Wing. Now, even Overwhelming Smile's financial power in the game is no match for Zero Wing. We will have a better future if we join Zero Wing. That's not all. I've just made some inquiries and found out that guilds can establish a guild smithy inside a 2-star guild residence. The repair fees there are 10% cheaper than elsewhere. Meanwhile, that guild smithy promotion order can be used to promote a 1-star guild smithy into a 2-star guild smithy. The repair fees of a 2-star are even lower, 15% cheaper. You can save so much on repair fees alone. Other guilds have no chance against Zero Wing. All hail Zero Wing. I want to join Zero Wing. For a time, Zero Wing became the #1 guild in the hearts of White River City's players of White River City. Suddenly, White River City went into a frenzy as players tried to join Zero Wing. Chapter 486. Generous Benefits. Inside the Adventurers Association, Xueqi was currently applying to establish a forge inside Zero Wing's guild residence. Sir, this is the model list for smithies. In addition, there is also a list of blacksmiths. You may choose any of the names listed there. The NPC at the counter smiled as she passed 2 lists to Xueqi. In God's domain, buildings were not limited to a single model. There was a large variety of models available for players to choose from. Players could even design their own buildings, though designing one from scratch required a lot of time. If not for highlighting the uniqueness of one's own guild, most players would choose one of the hundreds of models that were already available. Promotion of buildings only required a promotion order. There was no need to spend any money. However, constructing a new building or reconstruction required a large sum. Depending on the size of the building, the materials required, and the building's function, the price of construction would vary. A guild smithy was extremely important. Hence, Xueqi needed to decide carefully. Smithies were differentiated by 3 grades: ordinary, refined, and luxury. Though the price of each smithy was higher than the last, each grade was also more efficient. Ordinary smithies cost between 100 gold and 200 gold. Aside from repairing weapons and equipment, guild members could also sell their unwanted items to the NPCs at the smithy. Refined smithies cost between 300 gold to 500 gold. Aside from having all the functions of an ordinary smithy, refined smithies had a more refined and luxurious appearance. Refined smithies also had a weapon maintenance function. If a player left their weapon in the smithy's care, its durability consumption rate would drastically reduce for a period. At the same time, one could also hire intermediate blacksmiths if they had a refined smithy. One should not underestimate the function of blacksmiths. These blacksmith NPCs all possess different capabilities. For example, some blacksmiths might take less time than others to repair weapons and equipment. Other blacksmiths might produce stronger maintenance effects. Hence, hiring a powerful blacksmith was of utmost importance. Lastly, luxury smithies cost between 800 gold and 1,000 gold. Aside from having all the functions of a refined smithy, luxury smithies had a rest area that allowed guild members to accumulate the double EXP buff. However, 48 hours of rest was required to accumulate 20% of the buff. In addition, luxury smithies contained forging rooms. Moreover, these were advanced forging rooms, which were far more effective than those at the Starstreak trading firm. One could also hire advanced blacksmiths. For the guild's future development, we'll get the most benefits from the best option. Let's choose this 1,000 gold model, then. After looking through the model list, Xueqi chose one of the largest luxury smithies available that allowed him to invite up to 10 blacksmiths. After deciding on the model, he began to choose his blacksmiths. Xueqi had received 700 gold from the system reward alone. In addition, he also received over 300 gold for each dragon scale set equipment that sold at the Blackwing auction house. At this point, he had already sold more than 20 sets. Currently, Xueqi had more than 8,000 gold on his person, making him wealthier than any single guild in Star Moon Kingdom. Moreover, gold would continue to fill his bags as more sets of dragon scale set equipment sold. So, he did not mind constructing the best smithy available. Following which, Xueqi chose to hire 10 advanced blacksmiths. These 10 NPCs were the most skilled blacksmiths one could currently find. Their monthly wages ranged between 3 and 5 gold. After Xueqi finished dealing with the smithy, he searched for a secluded location to adjust his appearance back to Yifeng. He then hailed a horse carriage and returned to Zero Wings Guild residence. When Xueqi arrived at the residence, he discovered a sea of players crowding the entrance, creating an extraordinarily lively atmosphere. There were currently 2 berserkers in dragon scale set equipment standing guard and maintaining order at the residence's entrance. The fine gold rank glow from the sets thoroughly awed the players who had come to sign up for the guild. Is that a fine gold set equipment? I've seen it on the forums before. I think it's the dragon scale set equipment. Currently, a single set costs more than 300 gold. Zero Wing is just too rich. They actually bought 2 sets. Not just 2. I hear that Zero Wing's warehouse also has 1 set available for trade. As the crowd discussed Zero Wing's wealth with astonishment, the newly constructed smithy also attracted their attention. The smithy's construction was not as tedious as the guild halls. The smithy required much less time as it had fewer functions. As long as the guild paid the construction fees, the smithy could be completed in less than 10 minutes. Zero Wing's smithy was 3 stories tall. The smithy's luxury-grade appearance dazzled the onlookers, and many among the crowd even believed that they had arrived at the capital city's advanced smithy. The smithy was large enough to accommodate several hundred players, and it was even larger than an ordinary guild hall. This is my first time seeing such an extravagant smithy. Zero Wing isn't giving Overwhelming Smile any chance of survival. Zero Wing's smithy is almost the same size as Overwhelming Smile's guild hall. It's so much fancier than their guild hall too. From what I heard from Zero Wing's guild members, this smithy even has a weapon maintenance function that reduces the durability consumption rate of a weapon for a certain amount of time. With this, who knows how much money we can save when grinding monsters and raiding dungeons. For this guild smithy alone, I'll do anything it takes to join Zero Wing. The independent players who had come to participate in Zero Wing's test watched the guild's transformation with reverence, their desire to join Zero Wing intensifying. Morale among Zero Wing's members soared when they saw the growing flood of players coming to join their guild. Now, whenever they strode down the streets with their 6-winged emblem revealed, they would receive countless envious stares. Standing a short distance away from the residence's entrance, Thoughtful Rain quickly noticed Xueqi's arrival. Waving her hand, she shouted, "Yifeng, we're over here." Xueqi promptly walked over. Standing beside Thoughtful Rain was the expert who Xueqi was extremely familiar with, Everlasting War. However, though Xueqi knew about Everlasting War in the past, the reverse was not true. The 5 companions by his side were also outstanding experts. In the past, Xueqi had lived in an entirely different world from them. He had failed to reach even the upper ranks of God's domain, much less the pyramid's peak. Yifeng, let me introduce you. This man is Everlasting War. He wishes to discuss business with you. Thoughtful Rain slowly introduced Everlasting War's party to Xueqi. At this moment, Everlasting War was shocked after evaluating Xueqi. The pressure he felt from Xueqi was intense. He had not expected Zero Wing to possess another unfathomable expert besides Black Flame. Hello, I am Yifeng, Xueqi said, smiling faintly at Everlasting War. This place isn't suitable for a discussion. Why don't we head inside to chat? Saying so, Xueqi led the group into the rest area in the guild residence's smithy. The rest area was very elegant. Even having beverages available for guild members, this rest area was no less impressive than the city's restaurants. Wow! Is this really a smithy? Trailing after Thoughtful Rain, Blue Bamboo's eyes shone brightly as she entered Zero Wing's residence. It was as if she had just stepped into an entirely different realm. Secretly she said, Rain, look. That's the weapon maintenance room. There are such high-quality weapons inside. Even the blacksmiths are the rarely seen advanced blacksmiths. Rain, make sure you say something to Yifeng later. With such awesome guild benefits, it would be a huge shame if we didn't join. Chapter 487. Dark Arena. Thoughtful Rain glanced at Blue Bamboo's pleading look before examining her elegant surroundings. Indeed, no other guild could compete with Zero Wing, so it would not be a bad choice for them to join this guild. Ha! I only met Yifeng by chance. Our relationship isn't what you imagine. I can only try my best. Don't expect too much, Thoughtful Rain replied softly through their private chat. Blue Bamboo nodded vigorously. Compared to Blue Bamboo's fascination, Everlasting War and his companions only considered Zero Wing's benefits and environment decent. However, compared to a small unknown guild, the sudden emergence of a great expert like Xueqi was what truly shocked them. Carefully observing his surroundings, Everlasting War suddenly realized that Zero Wing's members were actually quite powerful. They were much stronger than the members of other guilds. As the rumors had said, Zero Wing was the true overlord of White River City. A moment later, Xueqi had led the group to one of the small rooms located in the rest area. The environment inside the room was excellent, and the pleasant aroma filling the air soothed everyone's tense spirits. Xueqi had to admit that the luxury version of the smithy was worthy of the price. He had not spent 1,000 gold for nothing. What would you like to talk about? Xueqi asked casually as he looked at Everlasting War. Originally, I had hoped to ask Brother Yifeng to introduce us to your guild leader, Black Flame. However, seeing as Brother Yifeng possesses such strength and is one of the upper managers of Zero Wing, discussing this matter with you should have the same effect, Everlasting War said leisurely. Truth be told, we are not players from Star Moon Kingdom. Rather, we are from the Beast Empire, the 8th strongest country in God's domain. As you can see, although we are independent players, our weapons and equipment are not the possessions of ordinary independent players. Indeed, the majority of your party's equipment consists of level 25 fine gold equipment. The level 25 shield and weapon in your hands are even dark gold rank, something extremely rare throughout God's domain. There are not many guilds in Star Moon Kingdom capable of obtaining those items. Xueqi nodded in agreement. He could not help but admit that there was a massive difference regarding resources between the empires and kingdoms of God's domain, not to mention the difference between Star Moon Kingdom and the current 8th strongest country in God's domain, the Beast Empire. Their weapons and equipment are all level 25 fine gold and dark gold rank? How is this possible? Blue Bamboo looked at Everlasting War's party, her eyes widening with surprise. Blue Bamboo knew that Everlasting War was very powerful. She could tell that just by looking at his level. All this time, however, Blue Bamboo had thought that the fine gold and dark gold rank glow effect surrounding Everlasting War's body originated from level 20 weapons and equipment. She never considered that he had level 25 weapons and equipment. Level 25 fine gold equipment was a luxury to any guild, much less dark gold rank. By the side, Thoughtful Rain was also shocked. Only now did she understand why this party did not mind giving them a level 25 secret silver staff. It turned out that these players were all using level 25 fine gold and dark gold ranked weapons and equipment. Is this the gap between a kingdom and empire? Thoughtful Rain was greatly confused. Upon seeing the shock on Blue Bamboo's and Thoughtful Rain's faces, Everlasting War's companions felt proud even though they had long since gotten used to the shocked expressions of White River City's players. You're mistaken. Although there is indeed a gap, it is not as large as you imagine. Moreover, they are no ordinary independent players. Someone has sponsored them, Xueqi explained. In God's domain, both players in kingdoms and in empires face similar difficulties when leveling up. However, since empires mirrored the major cities in the real world, claiming the players who lived in said cities upon character creation, empires had far more players within their borders. As a result of the astounding player population of an empire, the competition in an empire was far more intense than in a kingdom. The intense competition, in turn, gave birth to greater motivation, which resulted in empire players improving their techniques faster. Naturally, the levels and equipment of empire players were slightly better than kingdom players. As for Everlasting War's party, even in empires, they were far above ordinary players. So, how could the ordinary players of White River City possibly hope to compete with them? Xueqi's declaration stunned Everlasting War's companions, shock coloring their expressions as they stared at Xueqi's calm smile. Xueqi's words were not incorrect in the least. It was as if he had seen through every detail about them. Brother Yifeng is as amazing as expected. Someone has indeed sponsored our weapons and equipment. This is also why we have come in search of guild leader Black Flame. Everlasting War did not deny Xueqi's statement. Slowly he said, you might not know this, but a few days after God's Domain launched, the various major corporations around the world began to invest in the game. In order to prevent an overly intense struggle, these corporations began hidden competitions with each other. These competitions take place in the Dark Arena. The various major corporations send their experts to face each other, taking the chance to probe the opponent's strength. The victors earn large amounts of gold, credits, rare materials, and other benefits that you cannot even begin to imagine. I have come here today with the purpose of inviting guild leader Black Flame to join our battle team. If our battle team wins, it will benefit a guild such as Zero Wing that lacks funding. Not only can you obtain a large sum of credits, but you can also obtain a large sum of gold coins and top-tier equipment that you cannot even imagine exists. Now, however, I want to invite Brother Yifeng to join us instead. What are your thoughts on this? Although Everlasting War's voice was soft, it was sufficient to shock everyone present. This was a competition between the top 500 corporations around the world. This competition was several times more intense than the competition between first-rate guilds. The experts that were invited to participate were on an entirely different level. I understand. I can agree to your invite, but I have a request, Xueqi calmly said. He had long since known about this dark arena. It was a gathering place for experts. However, the experts there were far more powerful than the experts one usually saw in the virtual gaming world. Moreover, the financial power these people possess was several times greater than a first-rate guild's. If one could obtain consecutive victories in the Dark Arena, it was even possible to obtain more credits than what Underworld possessed. Take Everlasting War for example. Originally, he had not been a professional virtual reality gamer. Before God's Domain came into existence, he had been a top-class professional bodyguard tasked with protecting world-class characters. He had undergone both specialized mental and physical training. Ordinary people could never hope to be a match for him. Only, the price the Dark Arena had offered was very high. It was enough to tempt even Everlasting War to play God's Domain. In the end, Everlasting War had become the Everlasting War God of the Dark Arena, one of the apex existences of God's Domain. In the past, Xueqi had been fortunate enough to witness some of the matches in the Dark Arena. However, he had never even come near to qualifying to participate. As this was a competition between major corporations, only those who were invited were allowed to participate in the Dark Arena. Request. Everlasting War could not help his surprise. He had not expected Xueqi to maintain his composure. However, he decided to ask, "May I know what this request is?" Chapter 488. Young Genius. Although Everlasting War had already spoken, his companions had frowned in response to Xueqi's reply. They had never expected that Xueqi would try to negotiate. Countless people yearned to join a competition of such level. Yet, even many of the experts on the God's Domain experts list had been rejected. They were already stooping pretty low by willingly inviting an unknown expert such as Xueqi. Even world-renowned players fought to join the Dark Arena. Participating in the Dark Arena was already a supreme honor in and of itself. Not only could one win endless riches, but they could also receive the admiration of millions. It was even possible for one to become an international celebrity with a single battle. Not even the ruler of Star Moon Kingdom was a match for the Dark Arena's participants in terms of status. After all, that was a stage at the international level. Thoughtful Rain and Blue Bamboo's little jaws hung in shock, their eyes filled with disbelief as they watched Xueqi. The competition between guilds in God's Domain was intense. Almost every guild was supported by many corporations. However, not even the backer of a first-rate guild could compare with international corporations. It was merely an ant in the eyes of such giants. Although the virtual gaming industry's total value rose with each passing year, it was still significantly inferior to other top industries. If a guild could obtain the financial support from such a corporation, they could instantly become a super guild, surpassing any first-rate guild in God's Domain. With such a good opportunity at hand, Xueqi actually had a condition. However, Xueqi did not care about what others thought about him. Taking a sip of tea, he returned his gaze to Everlasting War, saying slowly, "My request is very simple. I hear that each battle team participating in the Dark Arena consists of 10 members. Seeing as you only have 6 members at the moment, I wish to invite 3 of my people to join. That way, we will have a full battle team. What do you think?" "You must be insane. Just inviting you is already leader's limit, yet, you still want to invite 3 others to join the team? Who do you think started this battle team?" A youth in black armor shot up from his seat in anger. The other members of Everlasting War's party were also clearly angry. Everlasting War, on the other hand, watched Xueqi seriously. The member limit for each battle team had only been recently confirmed, so only an extremely small group of people know this information. How did Xueqi, an upper manager of a small guild, find out about this? Suddenly, Everlasting War realized that the young man before him was shrouded in mystery. The only goal of the corporation sponsoring your battle team is to secure victory. Naturally, the stronger the chosen team members are, the better. I can guarantee that the players I want to include are all very formidable, Xueqi explained. Although Xueqi had not personally participated in the Dark Arena, he had a certain understanding of it. After all, it was the future battlefield for the apex experts of God's Domain. He had learned plenty of techniques from the matches held in the Dark Arena. For example, he had learned void steps from watching the Dark Arena's battle videos. If he could allow the experts of the guild to participate in the Dark Arena and experience those battles, it will enable them to improve their techniques further. Brother Yifeng, I am afraid that I am really powerless on this matter. There are a limited number of slots for the battle team. Although I am the team leader, I only have 1 invitation for the test, not the member slot for the battle team. Originally, I intended to test guild leader Black Flame's qualifications. However, even if he is qualified, I believe that, as the leader of a guild, he should be very busy with its management. Even if he has the strength, he should not have that much time to spare. That's why I wanted to invite Brother Yifeng, Everlasting War said, smiling bitterly. The competition between these international corporations was extremely intense. Every position on the battle team was unimaginably precious, so how could they give them away to Xueqi so easily? I expected as much. All right, I accept your invitation. When will the test be held? Xueqi nodded. He knew how valuable the slot was. The invitation alone had already greatly surprised him. However, he still wanted to know how much power Everlasting War, this battle team's leader, wielded. If he could obtain another slot, he would have truly profited. The unified testing time has yet to be determined. Let's add each other as friends for now. Once those in charge have decided on a time, I will contact Brother Yifeng immediately. Everlasting War promptly sent a friend request to the swordsman before him. After Xueqi added Everlasting War as a friend, they chatted about matters relating to the Dark Arena. Seated by the side, Blue Bamboo was utterly stunned by the two's conversation. She had never imagined that Zero Wing was so amazing. It had actually received an invitation from an international corporation. If the guild received support from such a corporation, its potential would be unimaginable. Blue Bamboo's decision to join Zero Wing solidified. After both sides chatted for another half an hour or so, Everlasting War's group departed. Big Brother Everlasting, there are countless experts in God's domain. Aside from Black Flame, how could you invite Yi Feng so casually? What if he fails to pass the test when the time comes? It won't look good to our superiors. Why don't we head over to Star Moon City and take a look? There might be some other amazing experts there. A beautiful female elementalist wearing crimson robes suggested. I know. Our superiors gave me an invitation slot precisely because they wish to test my judgment and to see whether or not I am suited to lead this team. They will definitely replace me if I fail. Knowing this, I won't act recklessly. However, this Yi Feng is indeed amazing. Based on his appearance, I'm guessing he is only around 20 years old. Yet, when he moves, not a single action reveals a weak point. There were not even any excess actions in his movement. I have already been in the refinement realm for close to 27 years already, so I can tell that he has clearly already set foot into the refinement realm. Moreover, his progression into the realm is also not shallow. This Yi Feng is simply unbelievable. He is truly a young genius. As for Black Flame, I have already watched his battle videos. Although Black Flame is indeed amazing, his performance shows that he has only taken half a step into the refinement realm. He only displays such overwhelming might due to his equipment and skills. With the power backing me, I can easily obtain things such as top-tier equipment. Otherwise, I would not have chosen Yi Feng. Refinement realm experts are as rare as phoenix feathers in God's domain. We are already very lucky to have encountered one. Even if we went to Star Moon City, it is unlikely that we will find another such expert. Alright, let's return to leveling up for now. His teammates could not help their surprise after listening to Everlasting War's reasoning. They had not realized that Everlasting War had such a high opinion of Shi Feng. However, they also had to admit the scarcity of refinement realm experts. Even the 5 of them had only taken half a step into that realm. After Everlasting War and his party left, Shi Feng turned to Thoughtful Rain, thanking her. I am truly grateful for Miss Rain's help today. If not for your introduction, I would not have such a fortuitous opportunity. If Miss Rain wishes to purchase equipment for yourself, I can offer a 50% discount. Really? Thoughtful Rain knew how expensive top-tier equipment was on the market. Moreover, top-tier equipment was not necessarily available. If she could purchase top-tier equipment at a 50% discount, she could save tens of thousands of credits with each item. She could save over 1,000,000 credits if she bought an entire set. In addition, the equipment available on the market was nowhere near as good as Zero Wing's equipment. Of course, Shi Feng laughed. Great. I want to buy a set, then. Also, my best friend here, Blue Bamboo, has always been very interested in joining Zero Wing. However, as she has only recently started playing virtual reality games, she's not very strong. Can you perhaps allow her to join? Thoughtful Rain asked meekly. I'm afraid I really cannot help you with that. Not even an upper manager like myself is allowed to bend the guild's rules, Shi Feng said, shaking his head. However, I can allow your friend to join and train herself with our guild's elite parties, having her learn the combat techniques of God's domain. Once she's sufficiently strong, she can then become an official member of Zero Wing. What do you think? I'll do it. I'll go. Originally, Blue Bamboo had been extremely disappointed when she heard Shi Feng's initial refusal. However, being able to improve herself with the elites of Zero Wing was not a bad alternative. Chapter 489, Shop. Upon hearing Blue Bamboo's agreement, Shi Feng immediately contacted Aqua Rose and had her organize an elite dungeon raiding party. A dungeon was a very good place for players to improve their techniques. Independent parties normally only raided normal mode dungeons. Even ordinary guild parties would only occasionally raid hard mode dungeons. As for elite parties, they raided hard mode dungeons slightly more often. Zero Wing's elite parties, however, were different. When they raided dungeons, hard mode was the lowest difficulty they would choose, though they would often challenge hell mode. To raid a hard mode dungeon, players only needed to meet the minimum requirement for equipment. The requirement for techniques was not very high. However, It was a different story for Hell Mode. Hell Mode had a very high technique requirement. Even if players' equipment was good enough to overwhelm the monsters that waited inside the dungeon, that did not guarantee that they could clear it. Their techniques needed to reach a certain standard before they could raid the dungeon successfully, so it was a very good place to train one's techniques. Zero Wing also had a requirement set for its elite members. Every week, elite members needed to raid Hell Mode dungeons a certain number of times. Although this was a stringent quota, members who fulfilled it would earn plenty of guild points as compensation for the deaths they suffered inside the Hell Mode dungeon. This was also why Zero Wing's elite members were so much more powerful than the elite members of other guilds. As long as Blue Bamboo trained diligently and polished herself in Hell Mode dungeons for a time, she should not have any issues passing Zero Wing's evaluation. Following which, Thoughtful Rain and Blue Bamboo each purchased a set consisting of level 25 secret silver and fine gold equipment for elementalists and clerics, spending over 1,000,000 credits in total. Despite such a large expenditure, however, both girls were extremely satisfied with their purchases. They even felt that they had profited significantly. They knew very well that, should they purchase level 25 top-tier equipment from the Virtual Trade Center, they would have to spend over 2,000,000 credits at the very minimum. Moreover, there was no guarantee that the equipment would be available. After all, every guild was in dire need of top-tier equipment. Naturally, they would not sell such equipment easily. After Xueqi finished dealing with these matters, he immediately departed from the residence and headed towards the Star Streak trading firm. Rain, you're the best. I can't believe you actually know someone like Big Brother Yi-Feng. Previously, one of my classmates boasted in front of me about how her boyfriend wore several pieces of level 25 fine gold equipment. If she finds out that I now have several pieces of level 25 fine gold equipment, she will definitely turn green with envy. Blue Bamboo laughed as she fiddled with the fine gold equipment in her hands. Honestly though, Big Brother Yi-Feng really treats you nicely. On the way here, I've researched the forums and found out plenty about Zero Wing's elite members. These elite members normally raid Hell Mode dungeons, and they never offer to carry anyone, not even their own ordinary members. I've always wondered what it feels like to clear a Hell Mode dungeon. Now that Big Brother Yi-Feng has arranged for us to accompany Zero Wing's elite parties to improve our strengths, it won't be long before we become experts too. Say, seeing as how Big Brother Yi-Feng is such a young and handsome man, do you think he has a girlfriend? If he doesn't, Rain, this could be a good opportunity for you. Even an international corporation is trying to recruit him to their battle team. Once he becomes famous, who knows how many people will be gunning for him. Your chances with him will decrease significantly if you wait. You little girl. Thoughtful Rain blushed slightly. Snapping, she said, I'm going to ignore you now. Seeing that Thoughtful Rain had turned around and was about to leave, Blue Bamboo hurriedly pulled her friend back, panicking new. White River City, Star Streak Trading Firm. Smile. How many strengthened armor kits have you guys produced? Xueqi asked. Guild leader, the three of us have forged over 10,000 pieces. Are we going to put them up for sale now? Melancholic Smile asked. Bring all of the strengthened armor kits and follow me. Right, also bring the gold we've earned so far, Xueqi said. Although the strengthened armor kits were inferior to the mana armor kits, with 3 people producing them, Xueqi did not have to forge the armor kits himself. Naturally, the stock they had created was astounding. With the burden of 30,000 gold on his shoulders, Xueqi felt that it would be best if he dealt with the problem as soon as possible. After all, there was not much time remaining. The looming penalty for failing the epic quest was also quite stressful. Moreover, Horizon Alliance had already nurtured quite a number of lifestyle players, forgers in particular. They had also recruited close to half the advanced forging apprentices from White River City's 7 neighboring cities. The Horizon Alliance even employed basic forgers, which no other city possessed. Once Xueqi accumulated the 30,000 gold, he would no longer have a connection to the Star Streak trading firm. Hence, Xueqi had been planning and accumulating his wealth, preparing to open his own market. And now was the perfect time to do so. Fortunately, he had accumulated a sufficient number of gold coins. It was time to display his strength. Guild leader, I have everything with me. Aside from strengthening scrolls, we also have the 13,000 plus gold that we've accumulated, Melancholic Smile said as she placed the money and the items on the table. This was the first time she had ever seen so much money. There were more than 13,000 gold coins stacked on the table. This was the accumulation of all the money Star Streak trading firm had earned from the 8 cities it occupied, including White River City. There was not a single guild in Star Moon Kingdom that could compete with the Horizon Alliance's wealth. A guild would be quite well off with only 1/10 of the Alliance's fortune. If converted to credits, 13,000 gold was worth hundreds of millions. One had to admit that God's Domain's money-making potential was formidable. Moreover, the game had only launched less than a month ago. However, no fool would exchange so much gold for credits. Yet Melancholic Smile had no idea what Xueqi intended to do with so much gold. After giving the items on the table a casual glance, Xueqi quickly stored them in his bag. "Follow me," Xueqi said as he exited the forging room. Melancholic Smile promptly followed. After leaving the Star Streak trading firm, Xueqi led Melancholic Smile to White River City's City Hall. "Lord Viscount, how may I be of service today?" a female manager asked politely, smiling when she noticed Xueqi enter the building. "I wish to purchase some land," Xueqi said. "Please follow me." Saying so, the female manager led Xueqi and Melancholic Smile to a VIP meeting room. After a short wait, a tall middle-aged man entered the room. "Lord Viscount, I have prepared a list of all available commercial land. My lord may choose any plot of land on this list, and because of your esteemed status, you will receive a 10% discount on all land." "Okay." Xueqi only glanced through the pages, not bothering to read them in detail. He then said, "I want these 2 plots next to the bank and the auction house." If one pointed out the most valuable plots of land in White River City, the first would be the plot directly beside the auction house, the second was next to the bank, the third was near the 2 aforementioned establishments, and the fourth was next to the Virtual Trade Center and the Adventurers Association. This held true for every city in God's Domain. In the past, these plots of land had been highly sought after. Renting one of these plots for just a month could be astronomically expensive. Moreover, as God's Domain developed, the money one could earn would grow. Naturally, it also cost a significant sum to purchase these plots of land. Moreover, one must also possess certain status if they wanted to purchase land. Money alone was not enough. As a viscount, Xueqi could only purchase a limited number of plots. Thus, he chose only 1 plot per location to begin his shop's operation. You're tuning in to the Xueqi's Martial Arts Saga YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.